Introduction. You walk into a meeting, ready to present your ideas. Half an hour later, you leave feeling as if you've lost something, and not just time. The negotiations swirled with subtle looks, perfectly timed comments, and carefully chosen silences. You agreed to terms that don't quite sit right. Later, over coffee with a friend, you wonder how that happened. Who really guided the conversation? And what can you do differently next time? If scenes like this sound familiar, you're not alone. Each day we encounter countless moments at work, with friends, and in families where unseen forces steer our choices. Sometimes we're the ones gently nudging others, perhaps without even realizing it. Other times we're on the receiving end, searching for words while someone else pulls invisible strings. It's easy to attribute these exchanges to charisma, natural talent, or mysterious qualities, but the truth is that influence is not magic, nor does it require superpowers. Influence is a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned, practiced, and perfected. This book is your roadmap to unlocking that ability, the power to analyze people, read hidden intentions, spot deception, and ethically guide conversations and outcomes. Whether you're a student wanting to get ahead, a professional seeking to negotiate new opportunities, a leader looking to motivate teams, or simply someone who wants to navigate life more confidently, the principles in these pages can transform how you communicate and connect. Our journey begins with understanding why people act and react the way they do. Beneath every word uttered, every smile flashed, and every hesitation lies a tangle of thoughts, feelings, fears, and desires. When you learn to recognize these currents, you gain what might seem like an unfair advantage. But in reality, it is simply awareness sharpened by knowledge. By decoding the signals people send through their bodies, their words, and their emotional responses, you tap into a wellspring of personal power, not the kind that manipulates for selfish ends, but the kind that unlocks trust, synergy, and genuine connection. With the right tools, you will see doors open that once seemed tightly shut. But what about manipulation? Is influence just another word for getting people to do what you want? It's a fair question, and one that deserves a clear answer. Influence and manipulation both deal with shaping behavior, but the difference lies in intention and outcome. Ethical influence is about guiding, persuading, and collaborating for mutual benefit. It is rooted in respect and in a desire to help, solve problems, or reach shared goals. Unethical manipulation twists facts, suppresses options, or exploits vulnerabilities for personal gain at another's expense. We live in an age where information moves fast and not always honestly. Social media, advertising, clickbait headlines, and viral rumors show us that the power to persuade can be used for both good or for harm. To be effective and to be ethical, we must understand ourselves as much as we understand others. This book arms you with that balanced perspective. Here, you will learn not only how to analyze the intentions of those around you, but also how to use psychology responsibly to inspire, lead, and create positive change. What makes influence possible? There is no single trick or shortcut. Instead, it's a combination of scientific principles and practical techniques. You will discover tools drawn from several disciplines. Neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, reveals how words and language patterns shape perception and action. Body language offers a silent form of expression, the unconscious cues that signal nervousness, excitement, agreement, or deceit long before words confirm them. Emotional intelligence trains you to notice both your emotions and those of others, allowing you to build rapport and trust. Psychology teaches us the cognitive shortcuts, biases, and motivations that underlie decisions. Together, these fields form a toolkit anyone can use. No magic required. Imagine having the ability to walk into any room and instantly sense the mood, the agendas, and the spoken and unspoken needs. Picture yourself participating in difficult conversations, negotiating a raise, resolving conflict, or reaching consensus with a calm certainty that you see the entire picture, not just your own point of view. Visualize relationships at home, at work, and in your community, growing deeper and more authentic because you listen better, empathize more, and express yourself clearly. Mastering influence does not mean winning every interaction or bending others to your will. Rather, it means seeing beneath the surface, asking better questions, and making choices from a position of insight instead of guesswork. It means recognizing when someone is being genuine and when they're concealing something. It means knowing how to encourage openness, diffuse tension, and foster collaboration, even with people whose motives differ from your own. It's about building bridges, not burning them. Within these pages, you will find practical guidance for every stage of mastering influence, no matter your current experience level. You will learn proven methods for reading body language and facial expressions so you can decode hidden feelings and intentions. You will practice listening with new awareness and observing with sharper focus, spotting subtle shifts in tone, posture, or expression that reveal the truth behind words. You will become skilled at using NLP strategies to reframe conversations, assert yourself persuasively, and guide outcomes while remaining honest and transparent. You will also develop the confidence that comes from understanding, not guessing. When you know what to look for and how to interpret it, uncertainty fades. Difficult conversations become manageable. High-pressure negotiations become achievable. Everyday interactions become opportunities for connection and growth. You will gain access to psychological techniques used by top negotiators, therapists, leaders, and relationship experts around the world. Most importantly, you will learn that influence is not about control. It's about contribution. Every interaction becomes a chance to make things better, to help others move closer to their goals as you move toward yours. At its core, ethical influence is service to your team, your clients, your family, your community, and yourself. No matter your background, education, or personality, you can become someone others listen to, respect, and trust. Not through force, but through insight, empathy, and skill. As you read, practice, and apply what you learn here, you will start to notice changes in how people respond to you and, more profoundly, how you see yourself. Are you ready to elevate your influence, decode hidden dynamics, and build stronger, more honest connections? If so, turn the page. Your journey toward mastering the art and science of influence, one grounded in ethics, knowledge, and real-world results, begins now. Chapter 1. The Psychology of Influence. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. Charles Baudelaire. Samantha sat quietly in the conference room, watching her team nod along as a colleague made a proposal that didn't quite sit right with her. She wanted to speak up, but found herself holding back, unsure if it was worth the effort or if she could change anyone's mind. Outside the meeting, small gestures, A smile here, a shared joke there, shifted the atmosphere without anyone fully noticing. Later, a simple compliment from her manager seemed to open doors for new opportunities, though Samantha couldn't pinpoint why it felt so different this time. These moments are familiar to many, subtle forces shaping thoughts and choices beneath the surface of awareness, guiding decisions in ways we rarely stop to consider. Understanding these invisible currents can reveal much about how influence works, and why some attempts connect while others fall flat. The science and ethics of influence. Influence begins at the intersection of psychology and everyday decision-making. Most choices people make are not the result of careful, rational thought. Instead, they're often powered by subtle forces, pulling attention, shaping emotions, and guiding judgments. These forces are the psychological triggers that form the backbone of influence. Emotional responses, cognitive biases, motivational factors, environmental cues, and unconscious processing. Emotional responses frequently override logic. When people feel happiness, fear, or anger, these emotions can drive snap decisions. For instance, a manager who praises an employee right before asking for extra effort benefits from positive emotions. The employee, feeling valued, is more likely to agree to a request. Supermarkets also harness emotion by playing upbeat music. Shoppers feel better and spend more. This emotional priming shifts behavior without overt persuasion. Cognitive biases operate silently, shaping how people interpret information. Confirmation bias is a common example. In work meetings, a team might favor ideas that align with their existing strategy, dismissing alternatives as unworkable. Anchoring bias also holds power. In salary negotiations, whoever makes the first offer creates a mental anchor, and the discussion revolves around that number. People overlook new information and cling to the initial figure, even when evidence suggests a better deal exists. Motivational factors drive action by aligning with people's needs and desires. Social proof, or the urge to fit in, compels individuals to copy others' choices. When someone sees coworkers taking on extra projects, they might volunteer as well, not wanting to stand out. At home, if family members begin recycling, others follow, motivated by acceptance and belonging. Authority is another key motivator. In leadership, a directive from a high-ranking executive often carries more weight than one from a peer, not because it's better, but because authority triggers a deep-seated response to obey. Environmental cues surround people, shaping their decisions without notice. The layout of a workspace can encourage employees to interact or remain isolated. Open office plans promote collaboration simply by placing people within view of one another. In restaurants, the placement of healthy options at eye level nudges customers toward better choices, subtly encouraging healthier eating habits. Changing the environment even in small ways, such as dimming the lights in negotiation settings, can influence how relaxed or open participants feel, affecting outcomes. Unconscious processing operates beneath awareness, quietly guiding actions. Gut feelings or hunches may seem mysterious, but they are the brain's way of quickly sorting through experiences and learned patterns. In relationships, people might feel instantly safe or uneasy around new acquaintances. This response stems from subtle cues such as body language, tone, or resemblance to past positive or negative figures. Unconscious judgments steer people, often before they recognize why they act. These triggers shape not only isolated decisions, but also long-term behavioral change. A marketing campaign that relies on social proof can inspire people to join a gym. But once surrounded by others and rewarded with recognition, they continue returning. A leader who models vulnerability in meetings encourages a culture of openness, gradually shifting attitudes about feedback and risk. These psychological levers do more than spark single actions. They shape lasting habits, beliefs, and values. Scientific research connects these mechanisms to measurable effects. Daniel Kahneman's work on cognitive biases shows that people are predictably irrational, often making choices that conflict with their best interests. Studies on emotional contagion reveal that team attitudes can change simply through shared moods. In negotiation theory, controlled experiments demonstrate how anchoring influences agreement terms, while proximity and physical environment affect cooperation and trust. At work, these triggers appear in performance reviews, promotions, team projects, and office politics. A manager might set the tone for a meeting with a smile, priming others to respond positively. Clear goals and public rewards motivate employees to excel by using social proof and recognition as leverage. In personal relationships, one partner might influence the other's habits, such as healthier eating, through gentle encouragement and shared experiences. In leadership, a clear sense of vision and credibility can motivate teams to pursue ambitious goals by aligning with deeper motivational drivers. Negotiation settings highlight the practical application of psychological triggers. Presenting a strong first offer, demonstrating expertise, and showing an understanding of shared goals can significantly shift the final agreement. Even the arrangement of the room or the offer of refreshments can alter attitudes and influence willingness to compromise. With great power comes responsibility. The same triggers that help people collaborate, grow, and commit to change can also be misused for personal gain or harm. Pushing emotional buttons, distorting facts through biased messaging, or exploiting subconscious biases can easily slip into manipulation. Persuasive influence, by contrast, draws clear boundaries. It uses these psychological tools to foster genuine connection, informed decision-making, and mutual benefit, rather than to deceive, pressure, or exploit vulnerabilities. Principles and observation in behavioral influence. Everyone responds to subtle forces that shape decisions and behaviors. Careful observation and understanding of key influence principles create many opportunities to guide interactions, motivate others, and build relationships built on trust by focusing on 6 core principles: reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, social proof, and liking. Anyone can learn to influence outcomes more effectively. Reciprocity. Reciprocity works because people naturally want to return favors and kindness. For example, in a workplace setting, when a manager helps an employee meet a crucial deadline, that employee feels motivated to give extra effort on future projects. In sales, offering a small gift or free sample often makes customers more likely to buy out of a sense of obligation. Recognizing an opportunity for reciprocity involves noticing when someone seems especially grateful or appreciative. A simple thank you, a compliment, or a generous gesture may all be signs they are open to returning the favor. Overusing this principle, however, by appearing manipulative or keeping a detailed mental checklist of favors, can erode trust. Reciprocity works best when acts of kindness are genuine and not just means to an end. Scarcity. Scarcity drives desire by making anything limited seem more valuable. A store that announces last chance offers attracts more customers because people fear missing out. In team leadership, assigning limited project spots creates enthusiasm and a sense of privilege among those chosen. Scarcity cues include quick attention, increased urgency, or repeated questions about deadlines and availability. It shows up when people ask, "Will this offer last?" or "How many spots are left?" Using scarcity effectively means being honest about limitations. Artificial scarcity, or fabricated shortages, undermine credibility and can backfire in the long run. Always align scarcity with actual constraints or deadlines. Authority. Credentials and expertise help establish credibility and win trust. People listen to doctors, experienced managers, or subject matter experts because their backgrounds assure others that their advice is reliable. In the workplace, sharing well-earned certifications or years of experience reassures clients and colleagues. In sales, testimonials from industry experts can sway hesitant buyers. Signs that authority will be effective appear when listeners ask about experience, training, or background, or defer to those with visible expertise. Overuse of authority or exaggerating qualifications often falls apart upon scrutiny. Stay authentic by only claiming authority in areas where expertise is genuine. Consistency. Consistency means aligning actions and commitments. People want to appear reliable, so they try to follow through on promises, even small ones. When someone publicly agrees to a goal in a meeting, like promising to deliver a report, they are far more likely to follow through. In interpersonal relationships, if a friend agrees to support a project, they'll feel a strong pull to stay involved. Look for signals like verbal commitments, written pledges, or visible agreement such as nodding or affirming statements. Using this principle effectively means helping others make small, voluntary commitments first to build momentum. Pushing for major commitments too early or coercing agreement can cause resistance or resentment. Social proof. People make choices based on what others are doing, especially in unfamiliar situations. When choosing a restaurant, seeing a crowd inside signals popularity and quality. In workplace dynamics, employees often mimic the work habits and attitudes of successful colleagues. Leaders can encourage desired behaviors by highlighting group norms or positive trends, such as, "Most of our team is now using this new process." Social proof cues include questions like, "What are others choosing?" or glances around the group before deciding. Over-reliance on social proof can lead to groupthink or poor decisions if the crowd heads in the wrong direction. Balance this principle by also considering whether the group's behavior is wise. Liking. We are more easily persuaded by people we know, trust, or simply like. Shared interests, compliments, or simple friendliness build rapport and make it easier to influence outcomes. In negotiations, finding common ground or starting with genuine praise often leads to better cooperation. When someone smiles, mirrors behavior, or engages in friendly small talk, they are usually receptive to influence via liking. Insincerity or excessive flattery can quickly undermine trust, so it helps to be authentic and look for real connections. Practical observation skills. Observing body language, tone of voice, and emotional cues reveals which principle will work best. Active listening, a nod, a question, or relaxed posture signals someone is open to reciprocity or liking. Uncertainty or questions about alternatives can hint at openness to authority or social proof. Patterns of behavior or language, such as expressing fear of missing out, suggest scarcity works. Recognizing these cues lets you choose the right tool for each moment. Combining principles increases effectiveness, offering a limited time promotion, scarcity, with a bonus gift, reciprocity, from a respected expert, authority, builds a strong influence strategy. Always maintain ethical standards. Use these principles to build trust, not to manipulate or exploit. Ethical and effective influence requires practice. Developing strong observation skills, continuously reflecting on intent, and respecting boundaries ensures these principles empower both you and those you seek to influence. Now that we understand the key psychological mechanisms and principles behind ethical influence, we can approach interactions with greater awareness and skill. By observing subtle cues, recognizing emotional and cognitive triggers, and applying core concepts like reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, social proof, and liking thoughtfully, we gain the power to guide conversations and decisions in positive, respectful ways. Moving forward, practicing these techniques with honesty and respect will help build trust, strengthen relationships, and inspire lasting change, equipping us to lead, persuade, and connect more effectively in every area of life. Chapter 2. The Power of Body Language. "Why are you sitting like that?" Lisa whispered, glancing sideways at Mark across the conference table. He barely noticed, arms crossed tightly, shoulders hunched as if shielding himself from the room. The meeting buzzed on around them, but something in his posture spoke louder than words. Discomfort, doubt, maybe even distrust. Lisa leaned in slightly, mirroring his position, with a gentle nod, hoping to bridge the silent gap she sensed but couldn't name. Yet what puzzled her most was how little anyone else seemed to notice these subtle signs. How many conversations slip past unnoticed, while hidden feelings and intentions linger beneath the surface, unspoken yet powerful. It's easy to focus only on dialogue, but there's a whole language being exchanged without a single word, one that can reveal truths, build bonds, or raise walls between us. Interpreting posture, gestures, micro-expressions, and unconscious behaviors. The way people communicate goes far beyond words. Decades of research reveal that most human communication is actually nonverbal. In studies frequently cited by psychologists, researchers like Albert Mehrabian concluded that up to 93% of communication impact comes not from what we say, but how we say it. While the precise numbers can vary depending on the context, the consensus is clear. Body language, facial expressions, tone, and other nonverbal signals often tell the deeper story, sometimes even contradicting spoken words. Our bodies continuously signal our moods, intentions, and reactions, sometimes betraying feelings that we try to conceal. Nonverbal cues often fall into three categories: static signals, dynamic signals, and micro signals. Each offers valuable insights for anyone seeking to interpret what's truly happening beneath the surface of an interaction. Static signals. Static signals encompass the physical presence we bring to a space, posture, use of personal space, and orientation. These cues tend to remain steady during interactions. Description. Posture covers the way someone stands or sits, whether upright, slouched, open, or closed. Use of personal space or proxemics involves how close someone gets during a conversation. Orientation refers to the direction a person faces in relation to others. Common variations. Someone might sit up straight in an interview, signaling alertness and respect, while a relaxed posture during a casual chat indicates comfort. Crossing arms may suggest defensiveness, or simply a preferred resting position. Associated emotional states. An open posture often signals confidence or receptivity. A closed or withdrawn posture can indicate discomfort, stress, or disengagement. Real-world example. During a job interview, a candidate who sits tall and leans slightly forward projects eagerness, while slouching may suggest boredom or nervousness. Misinterpretations. Assuming crossed arms always means resistance can overlook cultural habits or comfort. Posture must always be read in context. Dynamic signals. Dynamic signals include gestures, movements, and behaviors that change throughout the conversation. Description. These cues include hand movements, head nods, fidgets, and shifts in body position. Common variations. Frequent hand gesturing may express enthusiasm or anxiety, while mirroring another's movements often builds rapport. Associated emotional states. Rapid, sharp movements may show excitement or stress. Gentle, controlled gestures tend to convey calmness or authority. Real-world example. In business negotiations, someone rubbing their hands quickly when discussing numbers may indicate nervous anticipation. Misinterpretations. Overemphasizing one gesture, such as scratching the nose or touching the face, as a sign of dishonesty, without considering nervous habits or contextual cues, can lead to mistakes. Microsignals. Microsignals are subtle facial changes and involuntary movements that flash across the face or body in a fraction of a second. Description. These include microexpressions, slight lip twitches, quick eyebrow raises, or tiny shifts in eye direction. Common variations. Microexpressions might contradict spoken words, like a split-second frown when agreeing, hinting at hidden disagreement. Associated emotional states. Microsignals often leak true feelings, revealing joy, contempt, surprise, or even deception. Real-world example. In a high-stakes negotiation, a momentary tightening of the lips when discussing a contract term could signal frustration, even if the speaker uses positive language. Misinterpretations. Relying solely on one fleeting micro-movement without assembling a pattern can easily result in false assumptions. Observation exercise. Progressive skill building. 1. Basic posture reading in public spaces. Setting description: park, coffee shop, or waiting room. What to look for? Observe people's sitting or standing postures, arm and leg positions, and use of space. How to interpret? Note who appears confident, relaxed, withdrawn, or uneasy based on posture and proximity to others. Common pitfalls. Projecting your feelings onto others, not considering physical comfort or cultural norms. Practice variations. Compare groups with individuals or notice differences during busy versus quiet times. 2. Gesture cluster identification in conversations. Setting description. Observe group discussions at school or in a workplace. What to look for? Notice repeating sets of gestures, such as nodding, hands movements, shifting weight. How to interpret? Identify patterns that consistently appear together, like leaning in with open hands when interested. Common pitfalls. Focusing on isolated gestures without considering the cluster, missing the conversational context. practice variations. Try this exercise during both formal presentations and informal chats. 3. Micro-movement detection in professional settings. Setting description: team meetings, job interviews, or negotiations. What to look for? Watch for quick changes, brief facial expressions, sudden eye movement, a hand tightening on a chair. How to interpret? Look for discrepancies between spoken confidence and micro-expressions showing doubt. Common pitfalls: over-interpreting every minor twitch, not allowing for nervousness or distractions. Practice variations: record and review meetings, with permission, to slow down and catch subtle cues. Navigating context and culture. A thumbs up may mean approval in one country, but cause confusion or offense in another. During a meeting with international colleagues, ask how gestures are received in their cultures and compare reactions to the same nonverbal cue. This fosters understanding, prevents embarrassing misreads, and paves the way for adaptable communication. Interpreting body language is about genuine understanding, not manipulation. With observation and empathy, these core skills become a powerful asset in reading group dynamics, spotting tension, and building connections. The ability to identify microexpressions and unconscious tells will follow, paving the way for readers to influence through presence, trust, and nonverbal confidence. Applying body language to foster trust and influence. Strategic mirroring and matching. Mirroring and matching involve subtly aligning your body language with the person you're interacting with. When done naturally, this creates a subconscious sense of similarity that makes others feel understood and connected. The psychological impact is profound. People are wired to trust those who seem attentive and attuned to their behaviors. For example, a negotiator might gently mirror a client's seated posture or gesture style, signaling common ground. In team meetings, a leader can match the group's energy, helping everyone feel part of the same effort. Socially, mirroring during conversations at a party can foster immediate warmth. Mistakes happen when movements are copied exactly or too quickly. This looks unnatural and can make others feel uncomfortable. Instead, keep your mirroring subtle and delayed by a few seconds. Practice exercise. Objective: naturally build rapport through mirroring. 1. Choose a conversation partner and observe their posture and gestures. 2. After 3 to 5 seconds, subtly mimic a similar posture or hand movement. 3. Adjust volume and pace of speech to match theirs. 4. Gauge their comfort and engagement. If they lean in, you do the same. Success means the conversation flows, feels relaxed, and the other person becomes more open. If they seem confused or shift away, you may be overdoing it. Ease back and increase delay. Open posture positioning. Open posture conveys approachability and confidence. This means uncrossed arms, relaxed shoulders, and a torso pointed toward the other person. Open posture communicates your engagement and receptivity, whether you're pitching an idea to executives or checking in with an employee. In high-stakes conversations, it lowers defensive reactions and encourages honest dialogue. Closed posture, crossed arms and hunched shoulders, make people wary or defensive. To avoid this, check in with your posture at the start and refill your lungs with a slow breath to naturally open your frame. Practice exercise. Objective: signal openness and readiness to listen. 1. Stand or sit facing your counterpart directly. 2. Let your arms rest loosely by your side or on the table. 3. Keep feet uncrossed beneath you. 4. When responding, turn your torso toward the speaker. Success markers include visible relaxation in others, more eye contact, and extended conversation. If you notice the other person's posture getting closed, try relaxing your shoulders more fully. Trust-building hand gestures. Using calm, steady hand gestures when speaking can reinforce trust and clarify intentions. Hands visible above the table during negotiations suggests openness and honesty. Gestures like lightly steepling your fingers or placing a hand over your heart emphasize sincerity in both leadership presentations and difficult one-on-one discussions. Rapid, erratic hand movements, pointing or hiding hands can distract or intimidate. Aim for gestures that are smooth, proportionate, and visible without exaggeration. Practice exercise. Objective: reinforce honesty and clarity. 1. Rest hands open and palms up on a surface. 2. Use slow gestures that match your words, such as a gentle sweep to indicate inclusion. 3. Avoid pointing or fidgeting. 4. Monitor the listener's focus. Are they following your hands, or do they seem distracted? You will know you're succeeding when your gestures highlight your points smoothly and attention remains on your message, not on your movements. Engaged facial expressions. A genuine smile, attentive eye contact, and animated facial expressions build instant rapport. In team dynamics or leadership moments, nodding while listening or raising brows in curiosity demonstrates empathy and encourages contribution. During tense conversations, a softening of the eyes and mouth helps others relax. Mechanical or forced expression, like holding a smile too long, can feel insincere. Authenticity is crucial. Align your expressions with how you feel and what you're saying. Practice exercise. Objective: show active engagement through facial feedback. 1. Maintain comfortable eye contact, not a stare. 2. Reflect key emotions like concern, excitement, interest on your face. 3. Nod or smile at appropriate moments. 4. Adjust expressions if you sense discomfort. Look for mirrors in their responses, so they smile back, maintain eye contact, or open up further. Confident stance adjustments. A grounded stance with feet shoulder-width apart and weight balanced projects confidence. This is essential in negotiations, making introductions, or leading group discussions. Shifting weight too often or standing rigidly can signal nervousness. Practice exercise. Objective: embody confidence. 1. Plant feet firmly and relax knees. 2. Breathe steadily. 3. Keep shoulders back but not tense. 4. Scan reactions for signs of comfort or intimidation. Success shows in relaxed responses and engaged dialogue. If the other person steps back, soften your posture. Personal space management. Respecting or adjusting personal space is essential for trust. In Western professional settings, keeping about 2 to 3 feet between people generally feels appropriate. In leadership or team settings, gently matching the group's space preferences helps others lower their guard. Crowding someone or standing too far away can create discomfort. Always notice cultural and individual cues for distance. Practice exercise. Objective: calibrate distance for comfort. 1. Notice how close others stand and adjust to match their range. 2. Step closer or farther, depending on their reactions. 3. Maintain appropriate spacing in groups even as dynamics shift. Success looks like relaxed shoulders, natural conversation, and easy flow of ideas. Being mindful and ethical in applying these techniques means always matching your nonverbal messages to your honest intent. When your body language aligns authentically with your words, you foster real connection. Effective communicators constantly calibrate their approach by reading feedback, adapting to different power dynamics and cultural backgrounds, and practicing these skills until they become a seamless, trustworthy extension of their presence. Now that we understand how to interpret posture, gestures, micro-expressions, and unconscious behaviors, we can use these insights to better read the true feelings and intentions of others. By practicing strategic mirroring, maintaining open postures, and managing personal space thoughtfully, we build trust and create stronger connections in every interaction. With these skills, readers gain the confidence to influence conversations ethically and lead with presence, ultimately mastering the art of nonverbal communication to shape positive outcomes in both professional and personal settings. Chapter 3. The Vocal Cues of Hidden Intention. Research shows that listeners can deduct subtle changes in a speaker's voice that reveal emotions and intentions hidden beneath the words. The tone, pitch, and speed of speech carry signals about confidence, nervousness, honesty, or even deception. These vocal clues often go unnoticed, yet they influence how we understand others and how persuasive we appear ourselves. Learning to recognize and interpret these signals offers powerful tools for clearer communication, better judgment, and ethical influence. This chapter guides you through the fundamental ways voices reveal what people really mean, helping you become sharper at reading conversations and shaping outcomes with greater skill. Interpreting emotional states and spotting red flags in vocal delivery. Emotions constantly shape the sounds of our voices, often in ways we cannot control. The relationship between psychological states and vocal mechanics is direct. When a person experiences an emotional shift, their nervous system sends signals to various parts of the body, including the vocal apparatus. If someone feels anxious, the muscles surrounding their larynx may tighten, resulting in a higher pitch and thinner tone. When confidence takes over, these same muscles relax, lowering the pitch and giving the voice richness and steadiness. Fatigue or sadness can drain energy from the voice, making it softer or duller. Each emotional state subtly reshapes how air vibrates through the vocal cords, sending out signals for attentive listeners to interpret. Vocal qualities act as a mirror of feeling and intent. For example, genuine excitement often raises the pitch, adds energy to the tone, and increases speech speed, while anger tends to inject sharpness or volume without necessarily changing pace. A person feeling threatened may unconsciously quicken their speech, stumble over words, or show sudden changes in volume. These cues appear not only in dramatic moments, but also throughout everyday conversation, adding depth and meaning to interactions. 3 elements, tone, pitch, and speed, are especially revealing. Tone refers to the emotional color or resonance of the voice and is shaped by underlying mood. Pitch describes how high or low the voice sounds. Speed, or speech rate, refers to how quickly or slowly someone delivers their words. Tone analysis, identifying primary emotions. Tone provides the emotional flavor of speech, offering the first clues to someone's state of mind. A warm, open tone tends to signal approachability or comfort, while a flat or sharp tone may suggest boredom, irritation, or defensiveness. Common interpretations and pitfalls. One common misstep is assuming that a quiet or flat tone always indicates disinterest. In professional settings, a measured tone could be a sign of focus. Family members may speak in tired tones due to fatigue, not emotional distance. Practice exercise 1. Basic tone analysis. 1. Imagine a manager addressing a team after a long week. 2. Listen for warmth, gentle, rounded sounds, sharpness, short, clipped syllables, or neutrality, even, level delivery. 3. Practice by recording yourself delivering the same phrase, first when you're relaxed, then when you're annoyed. 4. Replay and note the differences. 5. Safety. Practice only with neutral or positive content. Success. You can reliably describe the tone of a voice and avoid confusing tone of voice with word choice. Pitch variation assessment. Understanding emotional intensity. Pitch signals not just what is felt, but how strongly it's felt. Raised speech often means heightened emotion, excitement, nervousness, or urgency. Lowered pitch can be a sign of calm, confidence, or at times, disengagement. Real-world contexts. In negotiations, a sudden rise in pitch may indicate surprise or discomfort. During family debates, lowering of pitch often coincides with attempts to regain control or soothe tension. Practice exercise 2. Pitch variation assessment. 1. Listen to a friend describe a recent event. Note moments their voice rises or falls. 2. Ask them to tell the same story with an emotional twist, more excited, more serious, and notice the pitch changes. 3. Try recreating these emotional variations yourself, first with mild, then with intense emotions. 4. Safety. Avoid practicing during heated arguments or in public confrontation. Progressive challenge. Match the emotion intensity to a specific pitch range. Success. You accurately notice and mimic pitch shifts linked to stronger emotions. Speech speed evaluation. Gauging comfort and certainty. Speed of speech often betrays internal pressure or confidence. Rapid speech typically reveals anxiety, impatience, or eagerness. Slower delivery suggests thoughtfulness or uncertainty, though it may also reflect cultural or personal style. Interpretation in context. A customer service agent speaking quickly may be anxious to resolve a difficult situation. In a casual conversation, a friend's slower pace could reflect careful thinking or a desire to be heard. Practice exercise 3. Speech speed evaluation. 1. Observe a public interaction, like ordering coffee. Notice if the person speaks slowly or quickly, and hypothesize why. 2. Try reading aloud with varying speeds, first briskly, then at a calm pace. 3. Experiment with the same content, once as if you're uncertain, once as if you're confident. 4. Safety. Never comment on someone's speech speed while practicing. These are private observations. Progressive difficulty. Identify mixed signals. For example, fast speech but a relaxed tone. Success. You can link speech speed to potential feelings while recognizing exceptions. By building these listening skills, you lay a foundation for noticing when vocal elements appear out of step with context or content. Such incongruencies often point to deeper motives or concealed emotions, a subject that will unfold more fully in the next section. For now, focus on sharpening your powers of observation, forming judgments only when patterns clearly emerge across situations. Uncovering confidence, deception, and mastering persuasive speech patterns. Pattern recognition exercise. Hesitation patterns often reveal a speaker's certainty or concealment. Natural pauses give listeners time to process ideas, but unnatural, jagged, or misplaced hesitations can signal anxiety or deception. Observing how people pause between thoughts, particularly when pressed for details, quickly shows their comfort level with what they're saying. In business negotiations, forced delays when answering direct questions might indicate concealment. In personal relationships, someone hesitating before giving a yes or no response may be weighing honesty against conflict. Practice by listening to recorded interviews and marking whenever speakers pause before answering. And ask yourself, is this pause consistent with the gravity of the question? What could be causing hesitation? Filler words such as like, and frequently appear when speakers are uncertain, buying time, or masking discomfort. An increase in filler frequency or use in unusual places, especially in professional presentations or during conflict resolution, can suggest unease or lack of preparation. To practice, record a short explanation of a familiar topic. Play it back and count the filler words. Try the exercise again, focusing on pausing instead of relying on fillers. Then, assess whether there is a direct relationship between your confidence and the number of filler words used. Shifts in speech pacing also provide important insights. Rapid speech under pressure often reveals nervousness or eagerness to persuade, while dramatically slowed speech, especially in high-stakes moments, may indicate calculated responses. Watch for pacing changes during leadership meetings. A confident leader adjusts pace purposefully, while deceptive speakers might speed up during simple questions and slow down when under scrutiny. Listen for moments when people change pace mid-sentence. Reflect on whether the pacing is consistent with the speaker's normal rhythm and what external factors might explain the variation. Voice modulation involves the rise and fall of pitch, the strength and clarity of enunciation, and the variation in speaking volume. A flat, monotone delivery can indicate defensiveness or lack of engagement. Excessive modulation may signal insincerity. In sales pitches, exaggerated enthusiasm often reduces perceived trust. Meanwhile, a steady, warm tone projects assurance and stability. Try reading a paragraph aloud, first using an even, calm tone, then with dramatic pitch variations. Notice the emotional impact of each version. Response latency, or the delay before answering, offers direct insight into cognitive load and emotional state. Immediate, direct responses suggest comfort and confidence, while long pauses, especially when an instant reply is expected, can indicate internal processing or fabrication. During interviews, take note of how long it takes candidates to answer behavioral questions compared to factual ones. Do they hesitate only during value-based or challenging topics? Vocal control technique. Diaphragmatic breathing forms the foundation for vocal control. To implement, sit with your back straight, inhale deeply through your nose, letting your abdomen expand. Exhale slowly. Repeat for several breaths. Pair this with gentle humming to enhance vocal resonance. A drill. Breathe deeply. Count aloud to 5 as you exhale, maintaining volume and clarity. Repeat, gradually extending to 10. Pitch control builds perception of trustworthiness. Record yourself reading the same passage in 3 pitches. Your natural range, too high and too low. Assess which best conveys confidence. Practice reading aloud daily, focusing on staying within your optimal range and avoiding abrupt pitch shifts. To master speed regulation, rehearse a 2-minute story, both rapidly and slowly. Note which sections lose meaning or become dull. Practice pacing with a metronome app set to a comfortable speaking rate, matching your phrases to the beat for even delivery. Volume modulation drills involve repeating a sentence at 3 volumes: soft, normal, and firm. Identify not just audibility, but emotional undertones. In persuasive communication, adjust volume to signal emphasis rather than resorting to shouting or whispering. Emotional state management sustains authentic delivery. Before important conversations, pause and label your feelings. In conflict or negotiation, take a deliberate breath before responding, ensuring your tone matches your intent rather than your instinctive reaction. Calibration and application. Set a baseline by recording an ordinary conversation. Note your default pauses, fillers, pace, and emotional undertones. Select one area for improvement, such as minimizing fillers or refining your pitch. Track your progress over a week, reflecting after each significant interaction. Imagine a negotiation. "We're concerned about the timeline," says one side. The other, after a brief, steady pause, replies, "We're committed to meeting your deadline and can provide daily updates." The calm pacing, lack of fillers, and firm pitch build trust. Conversely, a stammered, I think maybe some adjustments are possible, signals hesitation, making persuasion difficult. In a leadership meeting, a confident speaker addresses concerns with measured, modulated responses. "I understand your point. Here's how we plan to resolve it." The clear rhythm, appropriate volume, and purposeful silence foster credibility and connection. Throughout, strive for ethical influence by using these techniques to support clarity, honesty, and empathy. Employ your enhanced vocal presence to draw listeners in while remaining open, respectful, and genuine. Trust grows from consistency between inner conviction and outward expression. Now that we understand how vocal qualities like tone, pitch, and speed reveal hidden emotions and intentions, we can sharpen our listening skills to detect subtle cues and inconsistencies in speech. By practicing careful observation and vocal control techniques, we build the foundation to interpret what lies beneath words, helping us recognize confidence, deception, or hesitation. With this knowledge, you gain the confidence to read people more accurately and influence conversations ethically, using your voice and awareness to foster trust, clarity, and stronger connections in both personal and professional settings. Chapter 4. Personality Profiling for Influence. Most people believe that influencing others is about persuasion techniques or charm. Yet the true power lies hidden beneath the surface. To be more specific, in how well you understand who stands across from you. People don't just respond to words. They react to subtle signals shaped by their personalities, preferences, and fears. If you miss these cues, your efforts fall flat, no matter how convincing your arguments seem. The secret isn't just what you say, but how you tailor your approach to fit their unique style. This chapter will guide you through the often overlooked skill of reading personality traits with precision, equipping you to shape conversations and decisions with clarity and respect. Mastering this skill changes influence from guesswork into a deliberate, ethical art. Profiling personality types and the Ocean Framework. In any negotiation, leadership role, or casual conversation, understanding someone's personality is the fastest shortcut to choosing the right influence strategy. Each scenario rewards individuals who can quickly read others and adapt their approach, whether it involves a manager motivating a hesitant employee, a salesperson addressing a skeptical buyer, or a parent persuading a strong-willed teenager. Personality profiling gives you a practical lens for tailoring your influence based on who's in front of you. Openness. Trait description. People high in openness embrace new experiences, ideas, and approaches, while low openness individuals prefer the familiar, routine, and proven. Observable indicators. You notice open people suggesting creative solutions, showing curiosity, or referencing books, culture, or travel. They speak in possibilities, use phrases like "what if," and value brainstorming. Assessment questions. Have you ever tried anything like this before? Do you enjoy finding new ways to do things? Real-world application example. In a team meeting, one member keeps proposing unconventional ideas, listens enthusiastically to novel suggestions, and adds their spin to others' thoughts. A quick side check reveals they recently returned from an art exhibit and love experimenting in their work. Their openness is clear. Exercise. What to look for. Enthusiastic responses to new ideas. Willingness to discuss what could be. How to identify it. Ask about past unusual projects or their opinion on industry trends. When to use. Brainstorming sessions, driving change, introducing new products. Why it matters. Open people respond best to appeals to innovation, potential, and growth. Low openness types want proof, reassurance, and minimal disruption. Dominance. Trait description. Dominant personalities focus on control, assertiveness, and decisive action. Low dominance individuals prefer cooperation, deference, or consensus. Observable indicators. Dominant people make quick decisions, speak firmly, interrupt, and lead discussions. A dominant negotiator might push for clear outcomes and take charge without waiting for consensus. Assessment questions. How do you like to run meetings? What's the best way for decisions to get made on your team? Real-world application example. A project leader insists on stating deadlines, assigns roles assertively, and challenges pushback openly. Peers often wait for their signal before sharing ideas. Their dominant style shapes every interaction. Exercise. What to look for. Commanding posture, direct eye contact, quick statements, interrupting or steering conversations. How to identify it. Offer them small choices, notice reluctance, suggest alternatives, and see if they redirect discussion. When to use. Fast decisions, emergency situations, or when clarity and direction matter. Why it matters? Dominant types respect direct influence and invitations to lead. Consensus-driven persuasion irritates them. Too much structure can frustrate less dominant people. Compliance. Trait description. Compliant personalities seek rules, standards, and procedures. Low compliance people are informal, spontaneous, and independent. Observable indicators. Compliant individuals ask about guidelines, check details, and seek clarification. They might reference policies, standard procedures, or verified information. Assessment questions. Is there a best practice guide for this? Do you prefer clear instructions or more flexibility? Real-world application example. An employee requests written instructions before starting tasks, reviews safety protocols meticulously, and hesitates to begin without explicit approval. Their compliance is unmistakable. Exercise. What to look for: careful language, follow-up questions, written notes, hesitancy with ambiguity. How to identify it: offer vague guidance and note discomfort. Provide precise checklist. See comfort increase. When to use: regulatory environments, technical discussions, or when accuracy matters. Why it matters? Compliance-oriented people respond to logical arguments, documented benefits, and reassurance of structure. Emotional stability. Trait description: emotionally stable people handle stress calmly, recover quickly from setbacks, and approach conflict rationally. Less stable personalities may react with visible anxiety, mood swings, or overreaction. Observable indicators: you sense steadiness in their voice, sustained eye contact, and composed body language. Those less stable may fidget, raise their voices, or become defensive quickly. Assessment questions: how do you manage stress during big projects? What's your strategy when plans fall through? Real-world application example. During a tense meeting, an emotionally stable member responds to criticism with gratitude and thoughtful questions, while another reacts with visible agitation and hurried speech. Their stability difference shapes their influence response. Exercise. What to look for: calm tone under pressure, careful phrasing, relaxed movements. How to identify it: observe their reaction to sudden change or bad news. When to use: conflict resolution, negotiations, crisis management. Why it matters: stable people listen and reflect. Less stable types need reassurance and empathy. Case Study 1. Situation: a manager must convince two team members, Lisa, creative, enthusiastic, and Ben, methodical, anxious, to adopt a new workflow tool. Personality indicators: Lisa's openness and Ben's compliance. Assessment process: Lisa eagerly discusses what's possible with new tools. Ben asks for user manuals and concerns about errors. Influence implications: the manager pitches the tool to Lisa as an opportunity for creativity, while to Ben they offer step-by-step guides and risk mitigation. Case Study 2. Situation: a sales rep faces two potential buyers. One is decisive, interrupts, and wants clear pricing, dominant. The other asks questions about product safety and references regulations, compliant. Personality indicators: dominance and compliance. Assessment process: direct, fast engagement with buyer 1. Detailed, low-pressure explanation with buyer 2. Influence implications: the rep closes with the dominant buyer by promising speedy service. They win over the compliant with transparency and documentation. This hands-on assessment approach aligns with bigger models like the Big Five, especially as you pinpoint observable patterns, giving a toolkit for every influence scenario you encounter. Recognizing consistent behavior and tailoring influence. In every interaction, certain patterns and personality traits appear as stable behaviors time and again. These patterns, once noticed, become powerful tools for anticipating how someone will act or react. By paying attention to cues, tone, body language, reactions to detail, and preferences for group settings or solitary work, one can build a profile that guides influence strategies with both precision and empathy. Spotting stable behavior markers. People reveal their consistency across small day-to-day actions. Conscientious individuals tend to stick to routines, follow schedules, and double-check information. When assigned a task, they ask clarifying questions, request timelines, and take notes. Extroverts, by contrast, gravitate toward groups, start conversations easily, and often talk through decisions out loud. Spotting these markers is about watching for repeated behaviors, not isolated incidents. For example, if someone always takes the lead in team meetings and cracks jokes to set a positive mood, you're likely dealing with someone high in extroversion. Matching your approach to these patterns means first identifying the cues. Is the person slow to respond, but thorough? That often signals conscientious or introverted traits. Do they light up in lively discussions, but lose focus when the conversation gets too detailed? That could suggest extroversion with low conscientiousness. Tailoring your influence strategy. The key to influence is not one particular method, but the flexibility to adjust. Align the rhythm, structure, and tone of communication to fit with the target's natural style. Pace and rhythm of speech. Scenario. In a project update meeting, you notice Jordan, the lead analyst, prefers slow, deliberate conversations. When presenting to Jordan, slow your delivery, allow for pauses, and give space for questions. Say, "Take your time reviewing these points. I'm here for any clarifications." With an extroverted marketer, use a brisk, animated delivery. "Here's the quick rundown. Can't wait to hear your thoughts." Level of detail provided. Scenario. Pitching a new proposal. Pitching a new proposal, you meet two types, detail-oriented and big-picture thinkers. For detail-oriented types, supply data, charts, and step-by-step explanations. According to the latest metrics, we saw a 12% growth following this strategy. Let's look at the breakdown by segment. For big-picture thinkers, summarize the vision and focus on impact. This approach positions us as industry leaders and opens doors to new markets. Emotional versus logical appeals. Scenario. Requesting support for a new work member's appeal to a logical type with evidence and sound arguments. Process X reduces errors by 30%, saving hours each week. Faced with someone who is motivated by emotion or values, tie your pitch to shared goals and feelings. This strategy will make everyone's day smoother and help us feel accomplished as a team. Direct versus indirect approaches. Scenario. Giving feedback. A direct approach, your last report missed 2 critical sections, works for assertive personalities. With someone sensitive to criticism, use an indirect, supportive tone. "I noticed a couple of sections we could expand on. Let's review them together." Formal versus casual language choices. Scenario. Emailing a traditional manager. Stick with the formal greetings and structured paragraphs. "Dear Miss Chen, please find the attached report for your review." With a peer or creative team member, a casual, upbeat style builds rapport. "Hey, I attached the numbers. Let me know what you think." Real-world examples and dialogue. Imagine leading a brainstorming session. Ellie, an extrovert, is excited about big ideas. To engage her, ask, "What's the wildest strategy you can think of?" Avoid bogging down with excessive detail initially. Meanwhile, Thomas, a conscientious introvert, may sit quietly but offers well-thought-out solutions when asked specific questions. "Thomas, based on your analysis, what potential issues do you see?" Pitfalls and adjustments. A common mistake is applying your preferred style instead of reading the room. If the conversation lags or you see signs of disinterest, such as distracted glances or one-word answers, it's time to switch gears. Adapting does not mean being inauthentic. It means tuning into the other person's wavelength. Indicators that your approach is working include active engagement, thoughtful questions, and visible enthusiasm. If you notice withdrawal, confusion, or resistance, recalibrate by adjusting your pace, tone, or the level of detail provided. Ethical influence comes down to understanding before persuading. It's about forging genuine human connections by showing respect for individual differences and motivations rather than pushing for outcomes at any cost. This builds trust, fosters openness, and creates space for sustainable collaboration. Now that we understand how to identify and interpret different personality traits using psychological frameworks like Ocean, we can tailor our influence strategies with greater accuracy and empathy. Recognizing consistent behavior patterns allows us to choose the right approach, whether adjusting pace, tone, or detail, to connect authentically and ethically with others. By applying these insights, professionals and leaders alike can navigate conversations more confidently, foster trust, and achieve better outcomes in negotiations, teamwork, and everyday interactions. This foundation sets the stage for mastering people-reading skills and ethical influence techniques that enhance both personal and professional relationships. Chapter 5: NLP Foundations for Influence. Did you know that how we speak, move, and even think is deeply connected to the way our brain processes information? Research shows that subtle shifts in language, tone, and body signals can change how others feel and respond to us. These connections are not random. They follow patterns that can be understood and used consciously. This chapter will introduce you to a practical approach that reveals these hidden links, offering tools to recognize and influence communication more effectively. By learning these foundational ideas, you will begin to see how everyday interactions carry deeper meaning and how small adjustments can lead to better connection and positive outcomes. Introduction to NLP and Understanding Representational Systems, VAC. Imagine a way to understand why people do what they do, speak the way they speak, and act the way they act. Neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, offers such a pathway by connecting three central elements of our experience: our mind, neurology, the language we use, and the habits or patterns we repeat every day. NLP explores how these three components interact and shape every interaction, thought, and feeling. Instead of dealing with abstract theories, NLP provides practical methods to observe, understand, and even influence the patterns that drive our communication and behavior. NLP was developed in the 1970s by Richard Bandler, a computer scientist, and John Grinder, a linguist. They wanted to answer a simple question: why are some therapists and communicators far more effective than others? By closely studying the habits and techniques of exceptional professionals, especially influential therapists like Milton Erickson and Virginia Satir, Bandler and Grinder created a set of practical tools for personal change and positive influence. NLP has since grown from its beginnings in therapy into a highly practical approach used across business, education, sports, and personal development. At its core, NLP stands on a few simple but powerful ideas. First, there is a strong link between what happens in our nervous system, the language we choose, and our outward behaviors. When someone is nervous, for example, you can notice certain words, tone, and body language that mirror their internal state. Second, NLP places great emphasis on subjective experience. It recognizes that each person lives in a map of reality created by their unique perceptions, memories, and filters. Rather than assuming there is one true version of an event, NLP encourages us to look at how someone's private experience shapes their behavior and communication. Another core principle is modeling. This means observing how successful people think, speak, and act, then identifying the steps they use to achieve results. Whether you want to speak confidently in public or resolve conflicts calmly, modeling offers a shortcut by copying the behaviors and thought patterns of those who already excel. The final pillar is the understanding that what we imagine or think inside our minds, our internal representations, has a direct effect on what we do and say. For example, a person who pictures a negotiation going well tends to approach it more calmly and assertively than someone who replays worries or bad experiences. NLP moves from the theoretical to the practical through everyday situations. In business negotiations, someone skilled in NLP might listen closely, not just to what is being said, but also to the other person's tone, body language, and choice of words. By matching speech patterns and finding common language, they build trust, reduce tension, and often reach agreements more smoothly. In personal relationships, NLP techniques can help partners understand each other's needs, express themselves more clearly, and avoid misunderstandings. For leaders, principles from NLP support clear, inspiring communication and the ability to connect with people at all levels of an organization. On a personal growth level, individuals use NLP to challenge unhelpful thinking patterns, replace them with productive habits, and carry themselves with greater confidence. Alongside its practical uses, NLP has sometimes been misunderstood. Some believe it as manipulative, overly simplistic, or scientifically ungrounded. In reality, NLP's credibility is supported by both research and years of successful practical application. Studies have shown that deliberate changes to speech patterns and body language can influence outcomes in negotiation, teaching, and therapy. Universities and major corporations now use elements of NLP in training leaders, coaches, and sales teams because it works in real situations, not just in theory. A critical contribution of NLP is how it unlocks an understanding of human behavior and communication patterns. Consider a manager preparing for a team meeting. By observing how people process information, whether they rely on visuals, sounds, or feelings, the manager tailors their message for better results. Or think about a couple resolving a disagreement. If one partner prefers detailed explanations and the other looks for emotional reassurance, NLP helps both sides adapt and communicate in ways that resonate. People process information in unique ways, which often explains why two people can experience the same event but recall it differently. NLP explores these differences, opening the door to richer understanding and more effective communication. By respecting how people filter and interpret what happens around them through sights, sounds, or sensations, NLP lays the groundwork for exploring representational systems, a topic that becomes even more important as we look deeper into how people learn and connect. Building rapport and anchoring emotional states with NLP techniques. Building rapport in NLP starts with understanding how the brain naturally seeks connection through similarity, both in physical behavior and language patterns. Mirroring and pacing signal to the unconscious mind that you are in sync, making others more likely to feel comfortable and open to your influence. Science shows that when people sense reflection in posture, breathing, or voice, their brains trigger a sense of familiarity and trust. Physical mirroring. Physical mirroring means subtly matching the other person's posture, gestures, or breathing. This might involve sitting with a similar stance or holding your hands in a matching way. Exercise. Mirror and match for connection. Purpose. Quickly foster unconscious trust and comfort. Guide. A. Observe the person's posture and main gestures. B. Begin to gently adopt these positions yourself, a few seconds after they do. C. Notice their breathing rhythm. Try to align your own breaths. D. Continue the conversation at this synchronized pace. Pitfalls. Avoid exaggerated copying, which feels mocking. Focus instead on subtle shifts. Success indicators. The other person relaxes, smiles more, and seems at ease. Verbal pacing. Verbal pacing involves matching the other person's speech, including speed, tone, rhythm, and volume. This shows attentiveness and empathy. Exercise. Tune your voice. Purpose. Build rapport through vocal similarity. Guide. A. Listen carefully to the other's speech speed and energy. B. Adjust your rate and volume to match theirs. C. Reflect their tone, intimate if theirs is soft, lively if they're animated. D. Keep this alignment during the interaction, especially at the start. Pitfalls. Sudden shifts can seem artificial. Find your natural overlap. Success indicators. The person's responses become warmer and more engaged. Language pattern matching. This technique uses sensory words that match the person's preferred representational system, whether visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Exercise. Speak their language. Purpose. Deepen agreement by using familiar descriptors. Guide. A. Listen for words like see, hear, or feel that hint at their system. B. Mirror their language. Say, I see what you mean, to a visual person. That sounds good, to an auditory. Or, I get a good feeling, to a kinesthetic. C. Mix in these patterns naturally in your responses. Pitfalls. Forced or cliched language can break rapport. Keep it conversational. Success indicators. They nod, smile, or expand on what they're describing. Emotional state anchoring. Anchoring links a physical movement or gesture to a specific emotional state, allowing you to help yourself or others quickly access confidence, calmness, or motivation on demand. The brain associates repeated stimuli with the feelings present at the time, whether it's a touch, word, or sound. Exercise 1. Creating a personal resource anchor. Selection of positive state. Recall a vivid, positive emotion like excitement, pride, or calm. Anchor placement. Choose a unique gesture, finger squeeze, hand clap, touch on wrist. State intensification. A. Relive the memory in detail. Fill your mind with visuals, sounds, and feelings. B. When emotion peaks, set the anchor by performing your chosen gesture. C. Break state. Think of something neutral. Then immediately repeat the process 3 times. Testing and reinforcement. Trigger the gesture and notice if the positive emotion returns. If weak, enhance the vividness and repeat anchoring. Pitfalls. Using common gestures can cause anchors to fade. Choose something unique for you. Success indicators. Instant emotional shift after using your anchor. Exercise 2. Establishing conversational anchors. Opportune moments. Wait for a strong emotional response from your conversation partner. For example, when they share an exciting achievement. Gesture integration. Nod, tap the table, or use a certain word as they reach emotional peak. State elicitation. Bring the emotion up again. How did it feel to achieve that? And repeat the gesture. Ethical guidelines. Always use anchors to support positive interactions and empowerment. Pitfalls. Overusing or using anchoring manipulatively damages trust. Success indicators. The person lights up when you subtly repeat the gesture or phrase later. Real-world scenarios. In business negotiations, mirror posture and pace language. Let's look at it from this angle, for visual thinkers. I hear your concerns, for auditory, or let's get a feel for the numbers, for kinesthetic. Team leaders who synchronize breathing and speech speed create calm during tense meetings. Public speakers anchor confidence by touching a finger each time they feel audience energy rise. In personal settings, affirm a friend's experience with their preferred language. I sense where you're coming from. Builds deep connection. Troubleshooting. When rapport feels forced, pause and reset. Focus on curiosity and kindness. If pacing mismatches, slow yourself and invite harmony with open-ended cues. For weak anchors, intensify emotional recall and use more distinct gestures. Always check your intent. Maintain authenticity by connecting your language to your genuine care. Practice until all techniques feel like natural extensions of your personality. Integration exercises. 1. Mirror a friend's gesture, pace their speech, and use matching sensory language. Then, introduce a resource anchor gesture as you discuss positive topics. 2. In a group meeting, align with the most vocal member's tone, anchor your own calm state subtly, and release it when needed to steer energy. 3. Practice on a partner. Pace, mirror, match their words, and anchor a shared laugh or high point with a repeatable gesture. Regular practice of these techniques strengthens your ability to influence with empathy, presence, and ethical intent. Now that we understand the core principles of neuro-linguistic programming and how its strategies shape communication and emotional states, we can begin applying these techniques to connect more deeply with others and guide conversations effectively. By recognizing different ways people perceive the world and using tools like mirroring, pacing, language matching, and emotional anchoring, we gain practical methods to build trust, influence outcomes, and foster positive interactions. With regular practice and ethical intent, these skills empower us to decode hidden emotions, respond thoughtfully, and lead with confidence in both personal and professional settings. Embracing NLP opens the door to mastering powerful yet accessible approaches for meaningful connection and influence. Chapter 6. Emotional Intelligence as an Influence Multiplier. Emotional intelligence plays a crucial role in how effectively we connect with and influence others, especially when situations become tense or complex. Our ability to recognize and manage our own emotions while understanding those of others creates a powerful foundation for meaningful communication. People who develop emotional awareness often navigate conversations more skillfully, sensing unspoken concerns and adjusting their approach to foster trust and cooperation. This chapter examines how emotional intelligence acts as a multiplier for influence by enhancing self-mastery and empathy. It explores practical ways to maintain emotional control during challenging interactions, recognize triggers, and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. By focusing on these skills, readers will gain tools to engage more confidently and ethically with others, improving outcomes in leadership, negotiation, and everyday relationships. Laying the foundation: self-awareness and emotional control for effective influence. Influence often starts before a single word is spoken. Beneath every powerful idea or request sits a web of emotions, yours and those of the people around you. Emotional intelligence within the world of influence takes on a unique shape. Instead of simply being aware of your own feelings in a general sense, you use that awareness as an active tool. You spot emotional undercurrents, detect what remains unsaid, and adapt your approach to make the other person feel seen and understood. This ability to tune in and respond makes emotional intelligence far more than a personal skill. It becomes the quiet engine behind successful persuasion, negotiation, and collaboration. Understanding emotions in real time creates clear advantages. Imagine stepping into a business meeting where opinions about the next project carry quiet frustration. An emotionally intelligent person picks up on the tension, noting not just what people say, but how they say it. The drawn-out sighs, the avoidance of eye contact, the fidgeting hands. Rather than pushing their own agenda with force, someone with high emotional intelligence asks thoughtful questions to surface those concerns. This emotional awareness lets them adjust their influence strategy, respond in the moment, and create space for genuine dialogue. This attention to feeling does not just make things more pleasant, it leads directly to better outcomes. When colleagues feel their worries are being heard, their resistance to new ideas softens. The influencer, aware and empathetic, moves from being perceived as a pushy persuader to a trusted ally. In leadership, this transition holds special importance. Teams are more likely to support decisions when they sense respect and understanding. A manager who recognizes disappointment or worry early can address it, reducing future conflict or disengagement. Emotional intelligence acts as a protective shield against common mistakes in influence situations. With poor emotional awareness, people often ignore warning signs. They speak when others are distracted, escalate situations without noticing rising anger, or persist with arguments long after they've lost the room. In contrast, someone tuned in to the emotional pulse can step back, regroup, or redirect their efforts. If a coworker grows defensive during a proposal, an emotionally intelligent influencer pauses to acknowledge the concern rather than pushing through. By diffusing emotional tension early, they keep the door open for future influence, while ignoring discomfort might have closed it entirely. There are countless everyday examples where emotional intelligence marks the difference between failed and successful influence. In negotiations, a skilled buyer senses impatience in a seller's tone, revealing a hidden eagerness to close the deal. By slowing the pace, asking more questions, and showing concern, the buyer gains valuable concessions. In families, parents who notice a child's stress before a big test, despite cheerful words, can offer comfort at just the right moment, fostering trust and cooperation instead of resistance. These small signals, so easy to miss, become golden opportunities for those willing to look beneath the surface. Perhaps most importantly, emotional intelligence helps us notice what others overlook. Not every opportunity for influence comes clearly labeled. Sometimes a colleague's uncharacteristic silence in a meeting signals deeper worries about a company change. An emotionally intelligent person sees the chance to offer private reassurance or guidance, building loyalty that later strengthens influence. In group settings, picking up on collective excitement or unease allows leaders to prepare for action rather than guessing at readiness. Nothing unlocks opportunity quite like quiet, consistent attention to how people really feel. Sensing these emotional cues is not only about perception, but also about control. Influence often occurs in dynamic, shifting environments where conversations move quickly and feelings run high. Emotional intelligence gives people the ability to regulate their own reactions, pause before responding, choose language carefully, and resist the urge to rush. If a proposal meets sudden opposition, emotional awareness lets the influencer stay calm, read the room, and choose the right moment to re-engage rather than reacting defensively or giving in too soon. Timing and approach also come from this awareness. Choosing when to speak, how to frame a suggestion, or what questions to ask depends on reading emotional energy. During a high-pressure moment, a well-timed expression of empathy can disarm defenses and open minds. Emotional intelligence ensures that influence is not only effective, but respectful, creating agreement rather than resistance. Underlying all these elements is a foundation of self-awareness and emotional control. Individuals who know their own triggers, anxieties, and natural responses are better equipped to remain steady during influence attempts, making their efforts more consistent and trustworthy. This personal awareness naturally supports the skills of reading others and acting thoughtfully, forming a seamless link to deeper self-regulation and deliberate influence. Empathy in action, perspective taking and navigating high-stakes conversations. Recognizing emotional triggers. During high-stakes conversations, emotions can surge unexpectedly, often in response to certain words, tones, or body language. Recognizing emotional triggers is the first practical step to maintaining composure. Pausing briefly after hearing a provocative comment gives the mind a moment to assess the situation before reacting. Paying attention to physical signs, such as a racing heart or tightened jaw, can signal rising emotions. Naming the feeling internally, for example thinking, "I feel tense," disrupts automatic reactions and brings awareness to the present moment. In a business negotiation, noticing growing frustration after a tough demand allows a leader to take a calming breath before responding curtly. Leaders who label their feelings create a buffer between emotion and response, preserving their ability to influence outcomes thoughtfully. Regulating responses through breathing and self-talk. Simple breathing exercises are effective for regaining calm. Taking slow, deliberate breaths lowers adrenaline and sends a message to the brain that the situation is under control. A manager preparing for a heated annual review can practice 4-count breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold for 4 before stepping into the meeting. Along with controlled breathing, positive self-talk reinforces emotional stability. Repeating phrases like, "I can handle this," or "stay focused on the goal," reduces the likelihood of emotional hijacking. Even in moments of confrontation, recalling that one's reaction influences the direction of the conversation can help maintain intentional behavior. Focusing on outcomes instead of emotions. Emotional tension often diverts attention from the actual objectives of the high-stakes conversation. Consciously centering thoughts on the desired outcome rather than on negative feelings realigns the approach. For example, during a critical discussion with a resistant team member, silently reminding oneself, "I want to resolve the disagreement and preserve our working relationship," helps keep minor slights or disagreements from derailing the bigger purpose. Visual reminders, such as a written goal on a notepad, can help sustain this outcome-oriented mindset. Leaders who keep their eyes on the outcome tend to avoid getting pulled into unproductive side arguments and demonstrate steadiness under pressure. Using nonverbal cues to project calm. Body language is a powerful tool for managing both self-emotions and the emotional states of others in high-pressure settings. Adopting an open posture, making steady eye contact, and keeping gestures smooth and controlling all signal composure, even when feeling tense inside. For example, in a leadership meeting where stakes are high, nodding slowly while listening shows openness and reduces the emotional temperature in the room. Avoiding defensive gestures like crossing arms or tapping fingers reassures observers and diffuses tension. These visible signs of emotional control foster trust and credibility, strengthening one's influence in the conversation. Listening and validating to de-escalate tension. When faced with defensiveness or hostility, active listening and validation often turn the tide. Letting the other person speak without interruption and reflecting back what was heard signals respect, which lowers emotional defenses. A product manager arguing with a dissatisfied client might say, "It sounds like you're frustrated by the delay, and that's understandable." This simple acknowledgement, research shows, often causes the other person's emotional intensity to drop. Skipping this step, or glossing over emotions in contrast, leads to escalating defensiveness and reduced cooperation. Demonstrating empathy does not mean agreement. It simply means understanding the other's perspective well enough to move the conversation forward. Practical strategies for maintaining control. Prepare responses for likely triggers. Before a high-stakes meeting, anticipate which comments or issues could set off an emotional reaction. Prepare neutral or clarifying responses, such as, "Let me think about that for a moment," to buy time. Use depersonalizing language. In confrontations, speak in terms of issues, not personalities. Replace "You never support my ideas" with "We seem to have differences in approach. How can we align?" This shifts focus from blame to problem solving. Set timeouts when needed. If emotions crest, request a brief pause. "Could we take 5 minutes to gather our thoughts?" is a professional way to reset rather than risk a damaging outburst. Balance assertiveness with curiosity. Stating your needs firmly while inviting input shows confidence and flexibility. "I have concerns about this proposal, and I'd like to hear your thinking." Combines assertiveness with openness, minimizing emotional backlash. Turning emotional mastery into influence. People gravitate toward those who remain centered when others lose their balance. Each of these techniques allows one to signal reliability and leadership in moments of emotional intensity. High emotional control builds credibility and allows better decisions under fire, and preserves influence even if conversations grow heated. The ability to steadily manage one's own reactions, validate others' experiences, and keep sight of shared goals transforms tense encounters into productive engagements, directly expanding one's influence in every challenging situation. Now that we understand how emotional intelligence builds self-awareness and empathy, especially during difficult moments, we can use these skills to influence others more effectively and ethically. By mastering our own emotions and recognizing the feelings beneath the surface in others, we create space for genuine connection and open dialogue. This not only helps us steer conversations toward positive outcomes, but also strengthens trust and respect with those around us. As we practice these techniques, we become leaders and communicators who can navigate high-stakes situations with calm confidence, turning challenges into opportunities for collaboration and success. Chapter 7. The Ethics of Manipulation. Manipulation is often seen as a black-and-white issue. Either you are honest or you are deceitful. But the reality is far more complex. In everyday conversations, at work or in personal relationships, subtle shifts in language and intent can change persuasion into pressure, support into control. Recognizing these fine lines is not about judging others, but about understanding how influence works beneath the surface. It's about seeing the hidden choices behind words and actions, both in yourself and those around you. Learning to navigate this landscape wisely means you can communicate with respect while protecting yourself from tactics that erode trust and autonomy. This chapter invites you to look closely at the ways influence shapes our interactions and to develop the awareness needed to use it responsibly and stand firm against manipulation. Recognizing ethical versus unethical influence and avoiding psychological traps. Ethical influence involves persuading others by respecting their autonomy, providing truthful information, and supporting open choice. Manipulation, by contrast, seeks to gain compliance through deception, concealed intent, or emotional coercion. Consider a manager providing facts and options to help an employee choose overtime. This is ethical influence. If the manager exaggerates project urgency or evokes guilt about letting the team down, it crosses into manipulation. In friendships, a person sharing honest feedback supports another's growth, while someone who repeatedly brings up a past favor to demand cooperation engages in manipulation. The difference emerges in the language and behaviors used. Ethical persuasion is direct and honest. You have the skills to lead this project, and it would benefit your development. Manipulation resorts to pressure. If you really cared about the team, you wouldn't refuse. Manipulators tend to hide motives, stir guilt, or play on fears, while ethical communicators focus on mutual benefit and free choice. A practical framework can clarify intention and ethicality. Behavior description. What exactly was said or done? Intent analysis. Was the goal to inform and empower, or to force compliance? Impact assessment. Did the person feel respected and free to choose, or pressured and confused? Ethical evaluation. Were honesty and autonomy prioritized, or were boundaries overstepped? Scenario 1. Workplace negotiation. A team leader asks an employee to take on a new project. She offers a clear outline of expectations, the challenges involved, and possible rewards. Then asks for the employee's honest opinion about participating. The tactics involve transparency and space for questions. The intent is development and mutual success. The impact is the employee feeling valued and able to say yes or no. Ethical evaluation indicates respect for boundaries and open communication. Contrast this with a leader who says, "We need someone reliable, and if this doesn't go well, it will reflect poorly on the whole team. I know you wouldn't want to let anyone down." Here, the language introduces pressure by leveraging group loyalty and fear of blame, a red flag. The behavior moves away from an open offer and uses implicit threats to steer the outcome, which breaches ethical lines by undermining free choice. Scenario 2. Personal relationship boundary. A partner requests personal space for an evening. An ethical response would be, "I understand. Let me know if you want to talk later." The method is honoring the partner's need without strings. The intent is care. The impact is a safe, respectful environment. Ethically, boundaries are supported. If instead the response is, "I guess you don't care about me anymore. If you really loved me, you'd stay home," the language is loaded with guilt. The tactic uses emotional blackmail, a form of manipulation. Red flags include shifting blame and manufacturing obligation. This behavior erodes trust and disregards boundaries, moving into unethical influence. Scenario 3. Sales interaction. A salesperson presents features and full costs of a product, answers questions honestly, and encourages the customer to compare options. This approach employs transparency and education. The goal is to inform with the impact of empowerment and a pressure-free decision. Ethical standards are clearly upheld. Contrast this with a salesperson warning, "This is the last one left, and people have been asking all day. If you don't buy now, you'll regret it." The language triggers urgency and fear of missing out, a classic manipulation tactic. Red flags appear in exaggerated scarcity and artificial time pressure. The behavior corners the customer into making a hasty decision, which fails the ethical evaluation. Self-assessment tool. To reflect on one's own persuasive habits, ask, "Are my communication goals about mutual benefit, or am I seeking compliance at any cost? Do I use honest, clear methods, or do I rely on hidden motives or emotional pressure? Is the impact on the other person positive? Do they feel respected and informed, or confused and obligated? Are my actions building trust for the long term, or am I risking damage to the relationship for short-term gain?" Manipulation Detection Checklist. When evaluating others' communication, check for language that blames, shames, or withholds information, repeated reminders of past favors, promises, or duties to create guilt, artificial urgency, unnecessary secrecy, or exaggerated threats, ignoring or crossing clearly expressed boundaries. Gaslighting and emotional blackmail are extreme forms of manipulation, using denial of reality or emotional threats to control. Recognizing early warning signs in everyday conversations builds a foundation for defending against psychological manipulation and maintaining ethical, healthy relationships. Trust thrives where influence is used responsibly and boundaries are honored. Influencing with integrity and defending against manipulation. Choosing influence strategies that strengthen relationships begins with transparency and honest communication. At the heart lies the principle of informed consent, always ensuring people understand what is being asked of them and feel safe to decline. In workplace negotiations, for example, presenting clear options with all relevant information allows colleagues to make empowered decisions. Implementation starts by clarifying your intentions up front, explicitly inviting questions, and expressing willingness to revisit decisions if new information emerges. Trust builds when others feel autonomy rather than pressure. Signs you are succeeding include open dialogue, enthusiastic participation, and colleagues volunteering input. A potential pitfall is slipping into information withholding or overshadowing others' voices, which erodes trust. Instead of hinting at desired outcomes or placing subtle pressure, consider situations where a manager is introducing changes. "I would like your honest input as we consider this new project direction. If anything does not work for you, please say so. No decisions are final yet." This contrasts sharply with controlling approaches like masking the true impact or invoking authority. "This is the way it will be. Just adapt." Genuine influence is marked by mutual respect, while manipulation sows confusion or resentment. Active listening represents another cornerstone. The principle here is to understand before seeking to be understood, ensuring people feel heard and valued. Begin by focusing entirely on the other person's words, using open body language and summarizing what you have heard to confirm understanding. For trust building, note how the atmosphere becomes relaxed, with individuals speaking more freely and offering deeper insights. Pitfalls to avoid include fake listening, merely nodding or giving perfunctory acknowledgments without truly engaging. In personal relationships, responding to a friend's concerns with, "I hear you're stressed about work. Can I help brainstorm solutions? Or did you just want to vent?" demonstrates caring authenticity. Comparing this with deflecting, minimizing their feelings, or steering the conversation back to yourself, which diminishes connection. Modeling ethical behavior is a subtle yet powerful influence technique. Leading by example, even with small daily decisions, signals your values more clearly than persuasive arguments. To implement, consistently act with fairness and accountability, and own your mistakes without defensiveness. People grow to trust leaders who admit fault honestly, rather than shifting blame. In team settings, someone who takes equal responsibility or acknowledges their own errors creates safety for others to do the same. If you find yourself rationalizing shortcuts, the risk is undermining your own credibility and inviting others to do likewise. Leadership that demonstrates moral courage naturally fosters an environment resistant to manipulation, as expectations are clear and standards set high. When defending against manipulation, the first skill is early detection. Manipulative attempts often manifest as guilt-tripping, inconsistent messaging, or unexpected urgency. The response strategy centers on pausing before reacting, mentally sorting motives and facts. Implement this by calmly noting your emotional state, identifying any pressure points, and requesting clarification. "I'm noticing this feels rushed. Can we slow things down so I have time to consider?" If you suspect cognitive manipulation, such as being overwhelmed with information, ask for summaries or sources, reframing the conversation. "Could you point me to the main reasons behind this proposal?" If you are dealing with behavioral manipulation, like someone exploiting your routine willingness to help, assert boundaries with, "I'm not able to take this on at the moment, but here's what I can offer." Recovery includes calmly reconnected with your support system. Reach out to a colleague or friend to debrief and validate your perception. Strong boundary-setting language clarifies your limits without escalating conflict. Scripts to practice include, "I appreciate your perspective, yet I'm not comfortable with this request," or "I need more information before agreeing." When non-confrontational responses are essential, use neutral statements like, "Let me get back to you after I have thought this through," which buys you space and signals you will not be rushed. Emotional regulation is crucial. Take slow breaths, remind yourself of your right to pause, and challenge self-blame if you feel manipulated. Having a prepared support plan, such as a list of trusted people for advice, offers another line of defense. Practical skill building starts with analyzing a situation, such as suspecting emotional manipulation in a peer asking for last-minute favors. Select an appropriate strategy, like clear boundary setting. Practice stating your needs politely. "It's difficult for me to help on such short notice. Next time, please let me know earlier." Afterward, assess the outcome by noting whether the relationship remains respectful and if your boundaries were honored. By refining both ethical influence and defense strategies, you empower yourself to create trust while maintaining vigilance. Ethical influence methods, based on clarity, empathy, and integrity, naturally act as shields, reducing the likelihood of falling prey to manipulation and forming a foundation for resilient, genuine connections. Now that we understand how to distinguish ethical influence from manipulation and recognize common psychological traps, we are better equipped to communicate with integrity and protect ourselves from harmful tactics. By practicing honest, transparent persuasion and setting clear boundaries, we build trust and foster respectful relationships in all areas of life, from work to personal connections. Moving forward, applying these principles and skills will empower us to read people's true intentions quickly, engage in conversations confidently, and lead with empathy and fairness, ensuring our influence benefits everyone involved without compromising values or autonomy. Chapter 8. Spotting Lies and Hidden Agendas. Have you ever caught yourself wondering if someone is being truthful or hiding something beneath their words? Perhaps a friend's story felt off, or during a meeting a colleague's behavior made you question their sincerity. It's easy to notice certain signs and immediately jump to conclusions, like avoiding eye contact or fidgeting. But do these reactions always mean deception? Many of us have experienced moments when our instincts hint at something hidden, yet we aren't quite sure how to trust those feelings. Understanding what truly reveals a person's intentions can be tricky, especially when common beliefs about lying don't hold up under scrutiny. This chapter invites you to explore the subtle clues that lie beneath the surface of everyday interactions and the challenges involved in interpreting them accurately. Debunking lie detection myths and establishing baselines. Many people believe that liars avoid eye contact. You see it in movies all the time. A nervous character glances around, unable to meet another's gaze, and immediately suspicion grows. The logic behind this belief is clear. People think that guilt or anxiety causes someone to dodge eye contact. However, research does not support this view. Studies show that people telling the truth and those lying make up about the same amount of eye contact. In some cases, liars may actually increase eye contact to appear convincing. Instead of focusing on where someone is looking, note abrupt changes from their usual pattern. If a typically steady person suddenly struggles to look at you, or if someone who often avoids eye contact now seems intent on staring you down, these changes from personal norms are more important cues. Another common myth is that fidgeting signals dishonesty. Many believe that restless hands, tapping feet, or shifting in a chair means someone is hiding the truth. This belief likely stems from the idea that guilt or mental effort leaks out through the body. Scientific findings, however, reveal much less certainty. Fidgeting can sometimes indicate nerves, but anxiety is common when being questioned, even for honest people. More telling are sudden, unexplained movements that appear when a sensitive topic comes up, or major differences from a person's usual stillness or activity. Do not assume someone twisting a ring is lying. First, consider how they behave when calm and truthful. Crossed arms are another supposed red flag. The body language advice often claims that crossed arms signal defensiveness or hidden motives. This interpretation can seem logical because crossing your arms might create a barrier, hinting at something to hide. But arms can cross for many reasons: comfort, cold, or simply habit. Systematic observation suggests that crossed arms alone do not reliably signal deception. Instead, watch for clusters of behaviors that accompany arm crossing, such as turning the body away, minimal speech, or reduced facial expression, especially if these differ from how the person typically presents themselves. Some people also believe that glancing up and to the right means a person is inventing a story. This idea comes from misreading older theories about how people access memories or use imagination. Scientific studies have not found a consistent link between eye movement direction and lying. People look around for many reasons: to think, recall, or avoid distractions. Rather than monitoring eye direction alone, listen carefully to how someone structures their answers, especially if their thought process becomes unusually complicated. Touching one's face is another behavior often mistaken for a sign of dishonesty. The myth holds that when someone touches their nose, covers their mouth, or scratches their cheek, it's due to nervousness about being caught. In reality, nervous gestures may be signs of being under stress, not necessarily lying. Face touching can result from countless things, such as an itch, embarrassment, or unrelated anxiety. Look for patterns. Does this person touch their face when discussing everyday events, or only during uncomfortable moments? Consistent, context-dependent habits matter more than any single gesture. Instead of relying on one-off signals, skilled observers focus on establishing behavioral baselines. A baseline is an individual's typical set of behaviors, such as speech patterns, gestures, and levels of animation, when they feel at ease and truthful. Observing people during relaxed conversations or non-threatening topics helps you document normal ways they make eye contact, use their hands, express emotions, and respond to questions. Aim to observe for several minutes, if possible, while gently steering the conversation over various neutral topics. Note key patterns, such as their normal pace of speech, volume, laughter, posture, and any trademark gestures. While setting a baseline, look for variations influenced by context. Some people become more animated in group settings, while others quiet down. A person may speak faster when excited, or pause more when thoughtful. Recognizing these patterns helps avoid misinterpreting natural responses as signals of deception. It is important not to rush this process. A careful observer lets patterns emerge before making any judgments. Practical baseline exercises deepen observational skills. Start with a clear purpose, determining how someone communicates under normal conditions. Choose a setting such as a team meeting, casual lunch, or quiet one-on-one chat. Track specific behaviors, including how often someone smiles, their typical arm position, tone of voice, and whether their stories include detail or remain vague. Keep simple notes, perhaps in a phone or notebook, jotting down any consistent patterns. Practice for at least 10 minutes per person, returning for short check-ins and later interactions. In a professional setting, for example, observe how a colleague acts while sharing a project update. Do they usually lean forward, gesture, or keep their hands folded? At a social gathering, listen for natural conversation rhythms and usual humor styles. In a one-on-one setting, pay attention to normal eye contact and how emotions are expressed. Even during public speaking events, note whether presenters use wide gestures or stay reserved. Over time, these notes build a fuller picture. Establishing solid baselines makes it much easier to spot meaningful deviations. These observations become even more powerful when combined into behavioral clusters, which provide richer clues about honesty or deception in the situations you care about most. Behavioral clusters and practical application. Cognitive load clusters. A cognitive load cluster appears when someone is creating or fabricating information on the spot. The brain is working harder to invent facts, reconcile details, and prevent contradictions. This mental overload produces a set of reliable verbal and nonverbal cues that often occur together. Research shows that observing two or more cues within the same cluster can raise accuracy rates from a coin flip to over 70% in some settings. Expect longer response delays as the person mentally constructs their answer. Verbal indicators include sentences with extra qualifiers. To be honest, as far as I remember, inconsistent details, and a tendency to over-explain. Pauses filled with or sudden topic changes, and noticeable corrections also surface. Nonverbal cues involve increased blinking, fleeting facial tension, especially in the forehead, irregular breathing, finger tapping, or shifting in the seat. Some may touch their face or mouth while answering. The psychological roots are in working memory strain. The mind tries to keep the made-up story straight while self-monitoring for believability. These clusters appear just after a difficult question, often within the first few seconds of response. You may notice slight agitation or nervous gestures as warning signs, fidgeting right before answering, or widened eyes betraying surprise at being asked. Detecting deception versus anxiety can be tricky. Both can cause fidgeting and hesitations. Cognitive load clusters, however, include multiple tightly linked cues, such as a long pause paired with unnecessary explanations, and a shift in body posture. In contrast, someone simply anxious might show scattered signs of nervousness, but not the specific pattern of story patching. Skilled deceivers sometimes prepare their lies in advance to reduce cognitive load, so the cluster may be less apparent. Watch for rehearsed scripts, and if the cues drop away suddenly after a practiced answer, remain cautious. Real-world examples include a job applicant inflating credentials, or a partner inventing reasons for being late. Document the cluster by noting the question, the collection of cues, and the sequence in which they appear. If only one sign is present, wait for further evidence before concluding deception. Combining cognitive load clusters with other cluster types provides a stronger basis for judgment. Emotional leakage clusters. Emotional leakage occurs when someone's face or body betrays feelings they are trying to hide. This cluster includes microexpressions, which are tiny, involuntary facial movements paired with mismatched words or tone. Verbal indicators often include clipped answers, abrupt changes in emotional tone, or excessive rationality, such as, "I'm fine. Why do you think I wouldn't be?" Nonverbal cues include fleeting expressions of fear, anger, or sadness, shown through lip compression, eyebrow flashes, or a sudden spike in blink rate, followed quickly by a forced smile or controlled posture. The underlying cause is that intense or poorly managed emotions often leak through habitual self-control. Science suggests these clusters offer detection accuracy rates around 75% when multiple cues are aligned and contextually supported. These clusters usually appear moments before or during emotionally charged questions. Warning signs can include silent tension, a tightened jaw, clenched fists, or exaggerated breathing to calm down. Context-specific variations are important. In cultures where emotion is discouraged, leakage may be more subtle. Body language and facial expressions may differ by personality or background, so compare observed clusters with the person's established baseline. Expert liars may use relaxation techniques or mirror the questioner's expressions as a countermeasure. To distinguish deception from stress, note whether the leakage is specifically tied to certain topics or questions, and whether the emotion matches the stated story. For example, if someone says they are not angry, but a flash of anger appears when that topic arises, this is likely a cluster. Note the timeline and relationship of cues as you document. Duping delight clusters. Duping delight is the enjoyment some people feel when they believe they've successfully deceived someone. The cluster features subtle but detectable patterns. Verbal indicators include increasing confidence in speech, playful or teasing wording, or a sudden drop in voice pitch. Nonverbal cues include a half-suppressed grin, twinkling eyes, or shoulders relaxing briefly after the lie is accepted. These behaviors tend to surface after the person thinks the lie has succeeded. Psychologically, this cluster stems from the rush of getting away with it, which causes micro-rewards to leak out through behavior. Studies suggest duping delight signals increased detection rates, particularly for social or professional lives, to about 65% when more than 2 cues align. Examples include someone cheating at a game and smiling when they aren't caught, or a salesperson celebrating internally after making a misleading claim that is believed. Countermeasures are rare here, since the joy is difficult to suppress, but some may quickly mask their smile or pivot the conversation. Cultural factors affect expressiveness. In some societies, open displays of satisfaction may be discouraged. Clarify clusters by observing the timing when the confident relief or glee appears. Document these after the suspicious statement and look for changes from anxiety to sudden excitement. Practical exercises. Observation exercises include watching short video clips, such as negotiation scenes or job interviews, and counting genuine clusters. Role-playing with a partner challenges you to alternate between honesty and deception, while the observer documents clusters seen. Self-assessment tools like journaling, which detect clusters in daily interactions, provide practice. Difficulty levels progress from controlled settings to spontaneous conversations. Assess success by correctly identifying clusters in follow-up questions or by checking observer agreement. For ethical and accurate use, avoid snap judgments, document patterns, and always compare with baseline behaviors. Never accuse based on isolated cues or unverified clusters. Culturally sensitive observation and respect for individual differences are essential for reliable, responsible lie detection. Behavioral cluster recognition is the core skill that supports judgment in real-world situations, preparing you for high-stakes applications such as negotiations, dating, and personal relationships. Now that we understand how to separate fact from fiction and common beliefs about deception, and have learned the importance of establishing personal baselines and recognizing clusters of behavior, we are better equipped to detect dishonesty with greater accuracy. By carefully observing patterns rather than isolated signs and applying these insights thoughtfully across different situations, you can develop sharper people-reading skills. This foundation empowers you to approach micro-expression, fidence, ethically influence outcomes, and build stronger relationships grounded in genuine understanding. By mastering these tools, you can enhance your communication and leadership skills in both professional and personal settings. Chapter 9. Influence Tactics for Real-World Situations. Influence is a part of everyday life, shaping how we negotiate deals, lead teams, and connect with others. Whether in the boardroom or at home, understanding how to read people's emotions and intentions can turn ordinary interactions into opportunities for cooperation and growth. People respond not only to what is said, but also to subtle signals such as gestures, tone, and expressions that reveal much about their true feelings and motivations. This chapter focuses on practical ways to apply influence strategies across various real-world situations. It examines key psychological principles that guide decision-making and shows how to recognize and respond to emotional cues effectively. By learning ethical tactics to build rapport, manage power dynamics, and foster trust, readers will gain tools to navigate both professional negotiations and personal relationships with confidence and care. Influence strategies in negotiation and leadership settings. Understanding what influences decision-making in negotiation starts with recognizing several powerful psychological triggers. The reciprocity principle encourages people to return favors, even small ones. For instance, offering a minor concession at the start, such as agreeing to a timeline adjustment, often motivates your counterpart to reciprocate with a favorable term later. Research shows this trigger works best when the gesture is genuine and not perceived as manipulative. The scarcity mindset shapes how people value offers. Items or opportunities framed as rare tend to become more desirable. A statement such as, "These terms are only available this quarter," can increase urgency, but must remain honest to preserve trust. If scarcity is manufactured or exaggerated, it erodes credibility quickly. Social proof refers to our tendency to follow the actions of others, especially when uncertain. Mentioning that several clients have benefited from a particular approach or emphasizing successful case studies during talks helps reduce your partner's hesitation. Still, these examples should be relevant and truthful, as overuse or exaggeration may backfire. Authority positioning leverages expertise and experience. When you cite relevant credentials, noteworthy partners, or a history of successful agreements, you instill confidence without overtly boasting. Confidence, poise, and thoughtful communication signal leadership presence, which can anchor the negotiation dynamic in your favor. Commitment and consistency highlight how people prefer to act in accordance with their previous commitments. Once someone has agreed to a minor point publicly, they are statistically more likely to agree to related proposals later. A useful tactic is to seek early, low-barrier commitments that align with your goals. Then, build upon them gradually. Tactics for effective and ethical negotiations. Emotional intelligence, the ability to read and respond appropriately to another's emotional state, is essential. Watch for nonverbal cues. Crossed arms may indicate resistance. Nodding shows openness, and subtle facial expressions can signal changing moods. Mirror positive behaviors gently and show empathy. Direct questions such as, "How are you feeling about this aspect?" foster open dialogue and build trust. Effective framing involves presenting proposals in ways that highlight benefits and mutual gains. Instead of focusing on what is being lost, describe outcomes as solutions or shared wins. If a budget cut is required, position it as freeing up resources for future projects that benefit all parties. This mindset shift often reduces initial resistance. Building rapport takes very little time, but yields significant long-term benefits. Start with small talk. Show genuine curiosity about the other party's work or interests, and find shared values or goals. This lays the foundation for constructive discussion. Techniques such as active listening, validating concerns, and using the counterpart's name show respect and help people lower their guard. Power dynamics require thoughtful management. Recognize legitimate positions of authority, but do not surrender leverage unnecessarily. Share information strategically rather than trying to dominate. If you sense intimidation tactics, counter by calmly restating your points, demonstrating confidence, and asking open-ended questions. When partners resist, avoid confrontation. Instead, explore the motivations behind their stance. Ask open questions, propose trial solutions, and provide supporting evidence. Often, shifting the conversation from positions, "I want this," to underlying interests, "I need flexibility in scheduling because of," reveals opportunities for compromise. Examples, applications, and solutions. In win-win scenarios, both sides leave the table with valued outcomes. For example, a vendor may lower rates in exchange for a longer contract term, satisfying both parties' priorities. Challenges often arise when one side feels cornered or unappreciated. If a negotiator encounters stonewalling, reframing the discussion toward shared goals and clarifying the value created for all can reopen stalled talks. Psychological triggers find real-world application everywhere. A project manager might share data on team successes, demonstrating social proof, and describe a solution as a proven best practice, establishing authority. During salary negotiations, referencing market scarcity for specific skills makes an offer more compelling, but only if the claim is truthful. Ethical boundaries are essential. Influence goes astray when tactics become manipulative, such as creating false urgency or misrepresenting facts. Manipulation often damages long-term relationships and reputations. True influence means offering genuine choices and allowing the other party to make informed decisions without undue pressure. Actionable guidance and pitfalls. Preparation starts mentally. Cultivate a collaborative mindset, research your counterpart's needs, and visualize both optimal outcomes and acceptable compromises. Adapt tactics to personality types. Some negotiators respond well to data and structure, while others are motivated by values and vision. Nonverbal cues offer silent insight. Steady eye contact, purposeful gestures, and an open posture communicate credibility and confidence. Notice shifts in other bodies' language and adjust your approach if you sense discomfort or disengagement. Building credibility takes consistency between words, actions, and follow-up. Commit only to what you can deliver. Maintaining ethical standards means focusing on transparency, honesty, and respect. Coercion, which includes threats, pressure, or deceit, crosses the ethical line and severely damages trust. After negotiations end, maintaining professional relationships is vital. Follow up with gratitude, honor agreements, and offer help when possible. This not only secures the agreement's longevity, but also fosters a reputation for integrity and trustworthiness, essential traits for anyone seeking lasting influence and future leadership opportunities. Building influence in relationships and business interactions. In close relationships, influence depends on reading subtle cues and responding with care. When partners return home after a long day, their tone of voice, body posture, and facial expressions offer clues to their emotional state. Imagine a scenario where one partner arrives, shoulders slumped and voice flat. This signals exhaustion or stress. A partner who recognizes these cues might pause the usual recap of their own day and instead offer space or a comforting word. Such attentive adaptation shows emotional intelligence in action, encouraging openness and trust. Observable indicators of success include tension melting from the stressed partner's expression or their initiating conversation when ready. The pitfall here is assuming or projecting feelings without confirmation, which can lead to misunderstandings. Adapting communication styles based on real-time partner responses means listening beyond words. Suppose one person raises a concern, and the other notices hesitance or defensive gestures such as crossed arms or minimal eye contact. Adjusting in the moment by using a calmer voice, slowing the pace, and validating the partner's feelings helps to ease defensiveness. Behavioral cues, such as improved eye contact or relaxed posture, mark progress. Missteps occur when someone sticks rigidly to their own style, missing the chance to connect and resolve. Trust flourishes through calibrated vulnerability. Sharing small but meaningful truths, such as admitting fears or hopes, invites reciprocal honesty. For example, confessing nervousness about a new job can prompt a partner to share their own worries. Look for signs like empathetic responses, gentle gestures, or increased closeness afterward. Oversharing too soon or using vulnerability as manipulation erodes trust instead of strengthening it. Disagreements handled with emotional awareness become opportunities for connection. If tempers rise, physically stepping back, lowering the voice, or using softer facial expressions diffuses tension. After a heated exchange over family plans, one might acknowledge, "I hear you are frustrated. I want us to find a solution together." Success is revealed by mutual calming and renewed problem-solving. A common barrier is interpreting disagreement as rejection. Instead, seeing it as a collaborative moment builds resilience. Real-world scenarios and response strategies. Scenario: after a stressful day, Anna notices her parents' clipped responses. Indicators: flat tone, withdrawn posture, lack of eye contact. Response: Anna quietly sits beside them, offering a gentle presence instead of immediate questions. Pitfall to avoid: pressing for details, which may make the partner retreat further. Scenario: Jamie brings up financial worries, sees partner's shoulders tense and arms cross. Indicators: defensive gestures, terse replies. Response: Jamie reassures them, slows the conversation, and asks open questions. Pitfall to avoid: minimizing the concern or changing the subject. As these patterns carry into professional life, influence tactics require adaptation. Rapport forms the foundation of effective influence. When meeting a prospective client, an authentic smile, attentive posture, and genuine curiosity outperform rehearsed pitches. Clients respond to these subtle cues by mirroring engaged body language or offering personal anecdotes, which are observable signals that the connection is working. Implementation involves sustained eye contact, matching conversational tone, and asking relevant questions. One ethical consideration is keeping rapport respectful of boundaries without slipping into excessive familiarity. Reading customer hesitation is critical in sales contexts. A client avoiding eye contact, tapping fingers, or pausing before answering likely signals uncertainty. By acknowledging their hesitancy and saying, "I sense you might have some questions. Would you like to talk them through?" a professional eases pressure and guides them toward clarity. Signs of improvement include clients visibly relaxing or leaning in. Pushing for a decision, despite signals of discomfort, jeopardizes both the deal and the relationship. Business credibility grows through congruent body language, steady gestures, upright posture, and firm but friendly handshakes. In a presentation, clear gestures paired with confident eye contact make points more convincing. Colleagues respond with nods, questions, or post-meeting follow-ups. Avoid forced or exaggerated mannerisms, which can quickly undermine authenticity. Long-term business relationships depend on consistent and ethical behavior. Following up after meetings, delivering on promises, and showing genuine interest foster trust. Feedback appears as repeat business, referrals, or candid conversation. Trust with clients builds gradually, and the main pitfall is overpromising, which erodes credibility. Practical exercises. Exercise 1. Relationship influence mapping. Observe interactions for a week, documenting patterns and latent emotional triggers. Note moments when emotional states shift. What sparked them? Develop a menu of responses: supportive silence, tactile reassurance, or affirming statements. Practice shifting communication style and track which approaches strengthen connection. Exercise 2. Professional trust-building sequence. List business contacts, rating current trust levels. Identify moments where trust lags, like missed deadlines, weak follow-up, and unclear communication. Take specific actions: timely updates, transparent clarifications, or shared goal setting. Review progress every month, looking for increases in engagement or new opportunities. Influence thrives on observation, adaptation, and ethical intent, whether deepening intimacy at home or forging alliances at work. Through sustained awareness and authentic interaction, influence becomes a mutually beneficial skill measured not by what is won, but what is built together. Now that we understand key influence tactics and how to apply them ethically across professional and personal settings, we can approach interactions with greater awareness and skill. By observing subtle cues, adapting our communication, and grounding our actions in honesty and respect, we build trust and foster cooperation. This foundation enhances negotiation outcomes and leadership presence, and strengthens relationships by promoting genuine connection. With practice, these techniques empower us to navigate complex social dynamics confidently and create positive, lasting impact in every conversation. Chapter 10. Becoming a Master of Influence and Observation. Influence and observation are skills that quietly shape our everyday interactions, guiding how we understand others and how they respond to us. These abilities are not simply talent some people are born with, but can be developed through steady effort and thoughtful practice. By paying close attention to small details in behavior and adapting our approach thoughtfully, we deepen our understanding of the people around us and enhance our own impact in conversations and relationships. This chapter focuses on building these skills step by step through daily routines designed to sharpen your awareness and influence. It highlights how consistent practice leads to lasting improvement, emphasizing ethical leadership and self-reflection as key parts of mastery. You will learn how to cultivate habits that make reading intentions more natural, how to adjust strategies based on your environment, and why ongoing learning is essential for maintaining effectiveness over time. Sharpening skills through daily observation and customized practice. Daily, deliberate practice strengthens both observation and influence abilities far more than sporadic effort or intuition. Research on habit formation, including studies by Dr. Wendy Wood and Dr. James Clear, shows repeated action in set contexts turns new behaviors into automatic skills. Consistency creates neural pathways that reinforce accurate people reading and nuanced persuasion. As with learning an instrument or mastering a sport, repeated, focused work transforms knowledge into fluid, effective action. Practice method description. A habit-based system structures influence learning into 3 precise routines. Each routine relies on environmental cues, specific action steps, and clear results tracking. Over time, these elements cultivate both self-awareness and outward awareness, building mastery layer by layer. The morning observation routine. Use the first 15 minutes of your commute, morning walk, or while waiting in a cafe to practice unobtrusive people reading. Select a physical environment that brings you in contact with strangers. Consistency in location enhances routine strength. Behavior. Observe at least 3 individuals in detail. Watch for facial microexpressions, tiny, rapid movements revealing emotion, like a brief eyebrow raise or lip purse. Note baseline behaviors, such as habitual gestures or posture, before interactions. Triggers. The moment you leave home or arrive at a transport hub, initiate observational awareness. Set an alarm or calendar reminder if needed. Success indicators. You accurately identify emotional states or detect changes in someone's mood before external confirmation, such as overheard conversation or body language shift. Common obstacles. Distraction by your phone or environment. Overcome this by silencing notifications and focusing on describing observations mentally. Adaptation. Introverts may prefer a quieter public space. Extroverts might choose busy transit stations. For those who feel discomfort, start by observing from a distance or through a window. The workday people reading practice. Scatter brief, intentional observation bursts throughout social touchpoints, meetings, hallway conversations, group discussions, and even digital calls. Behavior. During your next meeting, track 3 behavioral patterns: posture changes, leaning in, crossing arms; verbal patterns, shifts in tone, pacing, hesitations; and eye movement, direct gaze, darting away, looking at others. In a lunch break scenario, analyze a single conversation for signs of comfort or tension. Watch for micro-smiles, subtle mirroring, or fidgeting. Triggers. Use each scheduled interaction, calendar notifications, start of a meeting, or arrival in the break room, as cues to activate observation. Success indicators. Increased accuracy in predicting others' responses or moods, corroborated by outcomes, such as positive meeting energy or successful conflict de-escalation. Common obstacles. Getting absorbed in your agenda or nerves. Build mindfulness by mentally rehearsing observation goals before each interaction. Adaptation. Students can observe group project dynamics. Leaders may focus on negotiating stances in professional settings. Choose contexts aligned with your daily environment. The evening reflection and analysis. Spend 10 minutes reviewing your day's interactions to consolidate insight and track improvement. Behavior. Journal at least 2 observations from the day. 1 success, 1 missed cue. Note the specific behavioral signs you detected or overlooked, and how these related to subsequent outcomes. Triggers. Link this review to an existing evening ritual. Do this right after dinner, a workout, or before reading. Success indicators. Growing ability to recall subtle behavioral cues, more detailed journaling, and better anticipation of others' needs and reactions. Common obstacles. Fatigue or vague recollections. Use brief written prompts or record voice memos immediately after key events to capture fresh details. Adaptation. Use digital tools for quick note-taking. Social personalities can discuss findings with a trusted peer. If privacy is a concern, utilize password-protected devices or codes for sensitive observations. Concrete progress metrics. Track results with clarity and discipline. Look for observable changes. Are you able to spot discomfort in a team member and support them before they voice concerns? Have you predicted the rhythm of a negotiation or noticed when a classmate is disengaged before others? Calculate success rate in reading intentions. Compare initial judgments to actual outcomes, adjusting strategies when errors appear. Record each case where effective listening or rapport building leads to tangible influence, such as resolving disagreements or achieving consensus. Note improvements within relationships, gauging trust, communication quality, and mutual understanding. Cautions and boundaries. Keep ethical concerns at the forefront. Practice in public and professional settings where observation is appropriate. Never intrude on private conversations or use insights for manipulation or exploitation. Respect personal boundaries and always consider cultural norms governing privacy and interaction. In professional and academic spaces, aim to foster cooperation and clarity rather than dominance. By following these daily routines and intentionally tracking growth, you lay the groundwork for developing an authentic, effective personal style of influence. These practices forge the foundation for the personalized mastery explored in upcoming sections. Ethical, long-term influence and ongoing mastery. Ethical influence is not a set of tricks that can be mastered once and used forever. It demands a personal commitment to continual growth and learning. As life changes, so do people and the ways they respond. Fields like psychology and human behavior research are always developing new insights. To earn and keep trust, influencers must become lifelong learners, adjusting their approach as new knowledge and methods emerge. Influence thrives when treated as a genuine relationship. People respond best to those who are trustworthy and authentic. Rather than seeking shortcuts, focus on meaningful connections. The best influencers help others feel seen, respected, and heard. Trust is built over time and can be easily lost if authenticity slips. To keep it strong, pay attention to your words, intentions, and self-awareness. Align your values with your actions at all times. Continuing education is central to staying effective. Online courses, podcasts, and books on psychology or communication make it easier than ever to access up-to-date information. Professional organizations offer seminars or webinars on emerging trends in behavioral science. Set aside regular time monthly for learning, whether it's by following respected thought leaders or joining discussion groups related to your field. Emotional intelligence is the backbone of strong influence. This involves becoming more aware of your own emotions and reactions. Self-reflection exercises help with this. At the end of each day or week, journal about an interaction. What worked, what didn't, and how you felt. Seek feedback from trusted peers or mentors to uncover blind spots and biases. Listening to how your communication is perceived helps you get better at reading people and adjusting your approach as needed. Progress and influence cannot be left to chance. Set specific goals and regularly assess your development. For measuring skills, use a practical framework. Simple self-assessment exercise. 1. List situations where you influence others. Work meetings, family discussions, client negotiations. 2. Rank your comfort and effectiveness in each from 1 to 5. 3. Identify one area where you struggled most in the last month. 4. Set a goal for improvement, such as ask more open-ended questions in meetings or practice active listening with colleagues. Keep notes on your progress and review every few weeks. Tracking small wins can help you see where you're growing and where attention is needed. This process builds momentum and clarity. Mentorship accelerates mastery. Seek out people whose influence you admire and ask questions about their approach. Good mentors provide honest feedback, practical wisdom, and accountability. Observe how they interact with others. What makes them effective? Consider peer coaching, where you and a colleague commit to mutual growth, offering insights and encouragement to each other through regular check-ins. Learning from others isn't limited to formal mentors. Watch outstanding communicators in action, whether it's a manager in your company or a podcast host famed for their interviews. Notice how they build trust, ask questions, and navigate conflict. Borrow techniques and experiment with your style. Avoid the temptation to manipulate or cut ethical corners for short-term gain. Trying to win at all costs erodes trust and credibility. Approaching every situation with genuine curiosity and empathy keeps your influence responsible. Establish clear personal boundaries and know what you will not do, even if it could work in the moment. Stay alert for rationalizations that lower your standards, such as, everyone else does this, or it's just this once. To evaluate your influence abilities, ask for direct feedback after major interactions or presentations. One practical exercise is a 360-degree review, in which you collect anonymous input from colleagues, supervisors, and peers. Use a simple questionnaire. What did I do well? Where could I improve? How did my approach make you feel? Once you identify weak spots or gaps, create a personal development plan. Outline 1 to 3 focus areas. Set achievable, time-based goals, such as joining a negotiation workshop within 2 months, or holding regular empathy-building conversations. Review your progress with a mentor or peer group. Building support networks sustains long-term learning. Join professional communities, mastermind groups, or online forums dedicated to communication and influence. These spaces provide new ideas, encouragement, and accountability, so you do not have to learn alone. Staying motivated comes from understanding that mastery is a journey, not an endpoint. Real-world leaders, like the best teachers or negotiators, constantly revise their techniques and update their knowledge. They celebrate progress, learn from setbacks, and remain open to change. Chart your steps to improvement, practice consistently, and stay curious. Be honest about what works and what does not. Influence becomes most powerful and rewarding when it grows from real relationships, steady learning, and unwavering ethics. Now that you understand the importance of daily practice, ethical awareness, and ongoing learning in mastering influence and observation, you can begin to build your own personalized approach with confidence. By committing to consistent routines that sharpen your people-reading skills, and by tracking your progress honestly, you lay a strong foundation for genuine leadership and effective communication. Embracing lifelong growth and maintaining integrity will help you navigate changing social dynamics and deepen your connections with others. With these tools and this mindset, you are ready to enhance your ability to decode hidden emotions, guide conversations thoughtfully, and foster trust in every interaction. Conclusion. As you reach the final pages of this book, Pause for a moment and consider how far you've come. You began with curiosity about people, about yourself, and about how relationships shape lives and outcomes. Now you have moved beyond simply wondering about these dynamics to actively understanding and mastering them. You have learned not only how to read others, but also how to ethically, confidently, and effectively influence situations around you. This journey has centered on three fundamental pillars: awareness, emotional intelligence, and ethical intent. When brought together, these skills transform the way you engage with the world. Influence, at its core, is not about manipulation or control. It's about listening deeply, seeing clearly, and acting from a place of genuine integrity. This approach enables you to achieve your goals while respecting the dignity and autonomy of those around you. You now hold the tools to decode hidden intentions and emotions swiftly. You can enter a room, observe the subtle shifts in body language, catch the fleeting micro-expressions that betray unspoken thoughts, and sense when words do not quite match what lies beneath. These are not just parlor tricks. They are essential skills for building trust and navigating complex social landscapes. Your ability to analyze people allows you to respond appropriately, guiding conversations with empathy and clarity. Throughout this book, we have explored psychological frameworks such as neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, and emotional intelligence, grounding each concept in practical application rather than theory alone. You have practiced the art of active listening, fine-tuned your observation skills, and become familiar with patterns in human behavior. By applying these techniques, you can recognize persuasive strategies being used on you and, more importantly, discern the underlying motivations that drive interactions. With this knowledge, you can enter negotiations with greater confidence. Whether you are mediating a workplace conflict, leading a team through change, or simply seeking to strengthen your personal relationships, you are equipped to steer conversations toward favorable outcomes without resorting to deceit or coercion. Instead of relying on forceful arguments or pressure, you draw upon an honest assessment of the situation, blending assertiveness with authentic respect for others' perspectives. One major transformation lies in your relationship with self-doubt and uncertainty. Where once you may have second-guessed your instincts, you can now rely on evidence-based intuition. When confronted by deception, you recognize the signs, and instead of reacting defensively or falling into traps, you remain calm and objective. When presented with conflicting opinions, you see beyond the surface and identify the beliefs and values that shape people's positions. This clarity allows you to mediate, persuade, and find common ground where others only see obstacles. Leaders today are called to more than authority. They are called to foster trust, inspire fellowship, and create environments where people feel heard and valued. Regardless of your position or title, you have developed leadership qualities grounded in real expertise, the ability to read the room, manage group dynamics, and diffuse tension before it sets you apart. By modeling openness and understanding, you encourage others to do the same, creating synergy and collaboration rather than competition and suspicion. For professionals and negotiators, the ethical use of influence delivers tangible results. By deploying NLP techniques with consent and transparency, you help clients and colleagues make informed decisions. By practicing emotional intelligence, you de-escalate conflicts and promote lasting solutions. In every negotiation, whether for resources, contracts, or ideas, you anchor your efforts in mutual respect. This ethical foundation not only elevates your personal effectiveness, but also builds your reputation as someone who empowers rather than exploits. If you are a student or lifelong learner, the benefits are equally profound. You are better prepared for job interviews, classroom discussions, and peer interactions. You advocate for yourself and others from a place of informed confidence. Emotional intelligence, once seen as an abstract talent, has become your applied skill, enabling you to form alliances, build friendships, and navigate challenging group dynamics. Perhaps most importantly, you have discovered how to protect yourself in a world filled with competing agendas and subtle manipulations. Awareness of persuasive tactics sharpens your perception, reducing susceptibility to bias, propaganda, and undue influence. You now spot red flags such as contradictions in speech, incongruent gestures, or evasive answers that signal caution. You ask better questions, verify facts, and refuse to be swayed by empty rhetoric. This vigilance does not breed cynicism, but wisdom. Alongside these defensive strategies, you embrace the positive power of influence, helping others to see new possibilities, encouraging them to take action, and sparking consensus where there is discord are invaluable contributions. When you communicate persuasively, you frame issues in ways that make people feel understood and motivated. Instead of imposing your will, you invite participation and foster shared ownership of outcomes. At every step, ethical intent remains your compass. Influence is a gift, one that comes with responsibility. You have learned to question your motives. Are you seeking to empower or to dominate? Do your actions serve the greater good as well as your immediate interests? True influence leaves people feeling respected and willing, not coerced or diminished. It builds bridges, not walls, and sows trust for future collaborations. The changes you have undergone are subtle yet significant. Small adjustments in how you listen, observe, and respond have ripple effects that touch every interaction. Over time, these skills become second nature. Opportunities previously overlooked emerge as you tune into social cues and unspoken needs. Where misunderstandings might have derailed progress, you now find pathways forward. Where anxiety and insecurity once limited your voice, you now speak with calm assertiveness. This is not the end of your journey. Rather, it is the beginning of a lifelong process of learning, reflection, and growth. The skills you have practiced here will deepen as you encounter new situations and diverse individuals. The principles of awareness, emotional intelligence, and ethics will guide you as you develop fresh insights and expand your sphere of influence. Remember, everyone you meet is grappling with their challenges, ambitions, and fears. By approaching each person with curiosity, empathy, and honesty, you elevate both your experience and theirs. The greatest influences are not those who talk the loudest, but those who listen best. They are not the manipulators, but the mentors, not the tricksters, but the trustworthy allies. You possess the capacity to lead with both confidence and integrity. Use these tools wisely, not only for personal gain, but also to uplift those around you. Influence is at its most powerful when it helps people discover their voice, potential, and purpose. Continue refining your craft. Keep asking thoughtful questions. Keep observing, and keep learning. Let your influence be a force for good, rooted in honesty, fueled by insight, and guided by unwavering ethics. As you step forward, remember that every conversation is an opportunity to connect, to learn, and to leave a positive impact. The skills you have acquired here are yours to shape the world, one interaction at a time. Go forth with confidence and integrity, knowing that your influence can help create stronger relationships, better decisions, and a more empathetic world.